Chapter 339. Song Qingshu's expression changed. When he looked back, he saw a crystal-clear beauty holding a long whip, standing not far away and looking at him vigilantly. "I see snow." Song Qingshu was delighted when he saw the woman's face. Back then, his meridians were severed, and he wandered the underworld in a precarious situation. Fortunately, Icy Snow took care of him all the way. Not only did she help him avoid the dangers in the underworld, but she also helped him successfully recover his meridians by obtaining the Spirit Illuminating Sutra. Song Qingshu's attitude toward Icy Snow was very complicated. On the one hand, she was his sworn brother's wife. On the other hand, when he was in a desperate situation, a fairy-like sister suddenly appeared and helped him gently. That unforgettable feeling was something he would never forget for the rest of his life. "Prince Murong, are you all right?" Icy Snow didn't recognize Song Qingshu because he was wearing a mask. Instead, she looked at Murong Fu worriedly. "I'm fine. Be careful, Lady Hu. This masked man's martial arts are really incredible. Don't be careless." Murong Fu was relieved when he saw Lady Hu and quickly reminded her. "Who exactly are you? Why are you acting so sneakily?" Lady Hu nodded slightly and immediately looked at Song Qingshu vigilantly. Song Qingshu suddenly felt that the situation was a little awkward. What would Murong Fu think if he were to take off his mask now? After all, he looked like he was going to take Murong Fu's life just now. Before he could react, Murong Fu had already attacked. Although he had lost his sword, Gusu's Murong Badong wasn't a joke. His punches and kicks still had the demeanor of a master. In order to cooperate with Murong Fu, Icy Snow waved her whip and attacked Song Qingshu at the same time. Song Qingshu had countless questions in his mind at the moment, such as why Icy Snow was with Murong Fu and why Ping Yiji wanted to kill Murong Fu. The situation was beyond his consideration, and he could only brace himself to deal with it. 18 dragons subduing palms. Not long after, Murong Fu recognized Song Qingshu's moves. He was shocked and angry. "What is your relationship with Guo Jing of Xiangyang?" There were only 3 people in the world who were good at using the 18 dragon subduing palms. Murong Fu was very familiar with Xiao Feng's figure, so he naturally knew that the person in front of him was not Xiao Feng. Hong Qigong was getting on in years, so he was even less suitable. The only other possibility was Guo Jing of Xiangyang. However, Guo Jing was supposed to be guarding Xiangyang, and with Guo Jing's reputation as a hero, it was unlikely that he would hide his tracks. Therefore, it could only be his disciple. The 18 dragon subduing palms isn't a rare martial arts skill. Song Qingshu smiled faintly. "Then I'd like to invite Prince Murong to evaluate what kind of martial art this is." As soon as he finished speaking, Song Qingshu changed the simple and fierce moves of the 18 dragon subduing palms and used the most ordinary punches and kicks to attack. Murong Fu clearly recognized every move and every style, and he also had a way to counter them, but his palms were always a hair's breadth away, and his opponent was always one step ahead and struck him. Taizu's long fist? Murong Fu was shocked and angry at the same time. "That's right. I heard that Xiao Feng used the most ordinary Taizu's long fist to defeat the heroes of the world in the battle of the virtuous manner. I'm very impressed, so I boldly gave it a try. I hope Prince Murong won't mind," answered Song Qingshu. Murong Fu's handsome face swelled until it turned green. He, the dignified southern Murong, was beaten by the most ordinary Taizu's long fist to the point where he could not retaliate. If this spread out, wouldn't he become a laughing stock? "Prince Murong, calm down. He's just deliberately disturbing your mind," Icy Snow hurriedly reminded. Only then did Murong Fu realize what was going on, but it was already too late. Song Qingshu took advantage of his confusion to sneak in and seal his acupoint. Song Qingshu secretly felt lucky. It was not difficult for him to defeat Murong Fu, but it was impossible for him to restrain him in such a short time. Thinking that Zhao Min's life was still uncertain at Ping Zhi's place, he did not have that much time to slowly exchange blows with Murong Fu. He could only take advantage of Murong Fu's weakness to restrain him as soon as possible. The long whip tore through the air and Song Qing-shu quickly dodged to the side. Icy Snow knitted her brows and brandished the long whip like a silver snake. The tip of the whip appeared and disappeared mysteriously, forcing Song Qing-shu to be flustered. I didn't expect her to practice the white python whip technique so skillfully. I'm afraid she's even better than Zhou Zhao, Song Qing-shu pondered while dodging. It turned out that, as the ancient tomb sect successor, Icy Snow was most proficient in soft and slender weapons like the Silver Bell and Golden Lock. After receiving the white python whip technique from Song Qing-shu, her mastery of the whip technique improved by leaps and bounds. In terms of whip technique alone, perhaps even Song Qing-shu was no match for her. This involved the issue of martial arts compatibility. For example, the 18 subduing dragon palms was most compatible with Xiao Feng's martial arts. The 19 white bone claw was most compatible with Zhou Zhiruo's martial arts, and the white python whip technique was most compatible with Icy Snow. However, Song Qing-shu was very familiar with the white python whip technique, so he could defuse his opponent's sharp attacks skillfully every time. Relying on his profound skills, he carried Icy Snow and gradually ran out of the dilapidated temple. When Icy Snow saw that her attacks were defused skillfully by Song Qing-shu, the strange look in her beautiful eyes became more intense. When she saw Song Qing-shu's palm attack, she suddenly changed her attitude and gave up all resistance, looking at him quietly. Song Qing-shu was shocked. He quickly deflected his palm force and hit a rock at the side, causing dust to fly. Icy Snow was excited and asked with a trembling voice, "Uncle, is that you?" Song Qing-shu took off his mask and said with a bitter smile, "I didn't expect that I couldn't hide from sister-in-law even with a mask. It's really you?" Icy Snow was pleasantly surprised when she saw Song Qing-shu's appearance. "Am I not dreaming? You're not mistaken. It's indeed me." Song Qing-shu walked forward and looked at her quietly. Icy Snow shakily stretched out her hand to touch his cheek. "Not long ago, I heard Murong Jingyue's announcement to the world. I thought you." It turned out that Icy Snow had been searching for Murong Jingyue's traces all over the world and didn't immediately know that something had happened to Song Qing-shu. When she heard the news recently and was planning to investigate in Yanjing City, she happened to run into Murong Fu, who claimed to have found Murong Jingyue's traces, so the two of them appeared in Kaifeng City together. Song Qing-shu held the smooth and soft hand on his face and felt a cold sensation on his skin. He was amazed. The skin is so cold. Could it be that this is the innate skill of the ancient tomb sect successor? "Sister-in-law, I'm not dead. That's just an excuse Kangxi used to deceive the world. It's a long story. I'll explain it to you in the future." Although the matter of replacing Kangxi was of great importance, Song Qing-shu didn't mind telling Icy Snow about it. In his heart, Icy Snow was a special existence. The two of them met during their childhood and went through trials and tribulations together. Song Qing-shu believed that even if everyone in the world became his enemy, Icy Snow wouldn't hurt him. The reason why he didn't tell her now was that time was tight and he couldn't explain it in a short time. He could only explain it in detail after this crisis was over. After the initial surprise, Icy Snow found that her hand was pinched by Song Qing-shu. Her snow-white skin blushed, and she said softly, "Uncle, when are you going to stop pinching me?" Song Qing-shu loved it when she called him uncle. The elongated sound almost melted his heart. He was so excited that he hugged her in his arms. "After we parted last time, I was worried that we would never meet again in this life. Later, I passed by the King of Medicine Village at Daunting Lake and wanted to see you. But fear said that you weren't here. Do you know how disappointed I was at that time, being hugged by him?" Icy Snow hurriedly tried to break free, but she couldn't move him at all. When she heard his sincere murmur and thought of all the experiences they had gone through, she was filled with emotions. For a moment, she couldn't help letting him hug her. "I'm sorry to have offended you, sister-in-law." Although Icy Snow's body was soft, cold, and comfortable to hug, Song Qing-shu couldn't keep hugging her like this. He looked at her awkwardly and let go of her. Icy Snow smiled and took a step back. She wasn't angry. Instead, she deliberately changed the topic and asked, "Uncle, why are you here all of a sudden?" I also want to ask you this question, sister-in-law. Song Qing-shu smiled bitterly. Why are you going the same way as Prince Murong? When we visited Swallow Dock, we got Prince Murong's promise to help us find the whereabouts of his collateral descendant, Murong Jingwei. Although the Murong family doesn't have many people now, it's an aristocratic family with hundreds of years of history after all. They always have their special means. Not long ago, I happened to find out that Murong Jingwei has recently appeared in Kaifeng City, so Prince Murong informed me to come together. Icy Snow narrated unhurriedly. There was a special gentleness in her faint voice. Initially, I wanted to inquire about Uncle's whereabouts in Yanjing City, but Prince Murong spent so much energy on Big Brother Who's Matter, so I couldn't refuse his kindness. So, I decided to come to Kaifeng City to take a look first. Of course, a kind person like sister-in-law can't refuse other people's kindness, Song Qingshu said with a laugh. Fortunately, sister-in-law came to Kaifeng City. If you came to Yanjing City, I'm afraid we would have missed each other. Icy Snow smiled gently. You're quite open-minded. I thought Uncle would blame me. Why would I blame you? Song Qingshu asked curiously. Icy Snow suddenly looked a little bashful and said softly, I came to find Murong Jingwei first instead of Uncle. Seeing Icy Snow's rare female shyness, Song Qingshu's heart skipped a beat. He shook his head and said, I naturally understand sister-in-law's mind. You must know that entering the Forbidden City is a narrow escape. Before that, you must avenge Big Brother Who first so that you can avenge me without any worries. Icy Snow blushed and rebuked. What nonsense are you talking about? Knowing that Icy Snow was shy, Song Qingshu didn't dare to repeat the same mistake, so he quickly explained the purpose of this trip to her. Icy Snow's attention was indeed diverted by him. Her expression quickly returned to normal, but she was also puzzled. Why would Ping Yizhi ask you to kill Prince Murong? I can't figure out either. These two people are completely unrelated, Song Qingshu said gloomily. Prince Murong's acupoint was sealed by you, and he's still in the broken temple. Icy Snow suddenly thought of something and exclaimed. The two of them hurriedly rushed into the temple. Song Qingshu smiled bitterly. His hand was too cheap, and he insisted on trying the stellar transposition technique. Who knew that Icy Snow would suddenly appear? Not only did he not get to experience the stellar transposition technique, he might even offend Murong Fu. Song Qingshu's thoughts moved like lightning, and he quickly came up with a plan. In any case, he had to repay Murong Fu's kindness in the past, so he might as well do this. At that time, Murong Fu would only be grateful and would not blame him. Chapter 340. Prince Murong, Song Mao. I'm truly sorry for my rudeness just now. Song Qingshu apologized with a bitter smile after he unsealed Murong Fu's acupoints. When Murong Fu saw Song Qingshu's face clearly, a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. After all, when Song Qingshu first came to Swallow Dock, he looked like he was half dead. He did not expect that after not seeing him for a few days, his martial arts would have already reached such a high level. When he thought about how he had lost to Song Qingshu so easily with his reputation in the world of martial arts, even though he had received a sincere apology, Murong Fu's face still turned livid. His rationality told him that he should just laugh it off to avoid offending a powerful enemy. But unfortunately, Murong Fu's cheeks twitched, and he still could not squeeze out the warm smile he wanted. Song Qingshu did not continue to explain. Instead, he brought out a book from his bosom and handed it to Murong Fu. Prince Murong, I was only able to repair my meridians because of your guidance in Swallow Dock. Song Mao will always remember this kindness. I heard that you and Xiao Feng do not get along well. Song Mao was lucky enough to find a manual for 18 Dragon Subduing Palm to repay your kindness. Song Qingshu was just being tactful. Murong Fu and Xiao Feng did not just have bad relations. He had lost to Xiao Feng several times, and it had almost formed a psychological scar in his heart. As for the manual for 18 Dragon Subduing Palm, while it was precious, it was not worth it to resolve a knot in Song Qingshu's heart. It had to be known that at Song Qingshu's current realm, training the mind was more important than training the martial arts. If he kept thinking about the kindness he had shown in the past, it would be very difficult for him to improve his cultivation. As for Morong Fu obtaining 18 dragons subduing palm, it did not affect him much. Song Qingshu himself had practiced the 18 dragon subduing palms before, and he understood that this palm technique was most suitable for people like Qiao Feng, who was open-minded and innately heroic. Morong Fu was narrow-minded, so even if he also practiced the 18 dragon subduing palms, the power he could display would be far inferior to Qiao Feng, Guijing, and the others. The 18 subduing dragon palms might seem like a top-notch secret manual, but it would probably have a limited effect on Morong Fu's strength. Of course, with Morong Fu's current level of cultivation, he was naturally unaware of all this. Looking at the booklet in front of him, Morong Fu's heart beat wildly. He really wanted to say something like, "I didn't do anything to deserve a reward," but he didn't say it in the end. He was afraid that if he said it, Song Qingshu would really take back the secret manual. This, Prince Song, is too polite. His hands trembled as he took over the booklet. Morong Fu's heart was filled with great emotions. With the 18 dragons subduing palms and the shifting stars, I, Morong Fu, am not afraid of a mere Qiao Feng. The day when I restore Great Yin to glory is just around the corner. When he thought of this, he looked at Song Qingshu with his eyes filled with gratitude and excitement. How could he still take his rude behavior hard? He cupped his fist and said, "From now on, Prince Song will be the most honorable friend of Gusum Murong family." Song Qingshu smiled faintly and did not take it to heart. He believed that Morong Fu was being sincere at this moment. But with his character, if he were to encounter any conflict of interest in the future, what Morong Fu said would not be of much use. Initially, Song Qingshu thought that he could use the 18 dragon subduing palms to exchange for something interesting from Morong Fu. As the shifting stars was a secret technique of Murong family, there was no way he could exchange for it. But if it was Wang Yuyin, it might not be impossible. After all, in order to restore the kingdom, Morong Fu had thought of using Wang Yuyin to bribe Duan Yu. Of course, as Song Qingshu's state of mind had been improved, he would not do such a thing. So it was not a big deal to give him the 18 dragon subduing palms. Suddenly, Morong Fu's face fell. "Prince Song," he said awkwardly, "that day in Yangzhou City, I have offended you." Song Qingshu raised his hand and stopped him from continuing. He smiled and said, "Don't take it to heart, Prince Morong. That day, you were just trying to save Miss Wang. Speaking of which, there are many misunderstandings. Song Mao just happened to be traveling the same way as Jiumaji." Both men looked at each other and laughed. Soon, they had forgotten about the past. That's right. Has young Master Morong ever offended Feng Ping's finger? Song Qingshu thought of the urgent matter at hand and quickly asked, "Pingji?" Morong Fu was stunned. Being well informed, he reacted quickly. "Is it the famous killer doctor who kills every person he treats?" "Yes." Song Qingshu stared at him, trying to see if there was anything unusual on his face. Unexpectedly, Morong Fu was puzzled. "No, we have never met before. How could we offend him?" "That's strange," Icy Snow exclaimed. Song Qingshu's face was also solemn. Morong Fu was confused. He looked at the two men who were deep in thought. "What happened?" Song Qingshu smiled bitterly and briefly told him about Ping Ji's condition. Seeing Morong Fu's face change, he quickly explained, "Prince Morong, please don't think too much. Just now, I just wanted to experience Morong clan's Big Dipper. I didn't mean to harm you." "What are you talking about, Prince Song? I naturally trust you, Brother Song." Morong Fu thought about it and knew that Song Qingshu was telling the truth. After all, Song Qingshu didn't show any killing intent just now. However, he still felt uncomfortable that his life was in someone else's hands. Icy Snow looked at him worriedly and said softly, "Prince Morong, think about it again and see if you missed anything. Otherwise, why would Ping Ji want to kill you? Forgive me for being slow-witted, but I really don't remember when I offended this miracle doctor." Morong Fu smiled bitterly. What was Uncle's initial plan? Icy Snow looked at Song Qing-shu and asked. She naturally didn't believe that Song Qing-shu would use his benefactor's head to save someone. Therefore, she wasn't afraid that he wouldn't be able to explain. She also wanted to take this opportunity to resolve the knot in Murong Fu's heart. Song Qing-shu said in a deep voice, I plan to let Prince Murong cooperate with me and put on a show. Then, we'll know what Ping Ji is up to. He then explained the entire plan. That's a great plan. I'm also very curious about the grudge between that famous doctor and the Murong family. Murong Fu nodded as he listened. The three of them gathered together to perfect the details of the entire plan. When the three of them came out of the dilapidated temple and saw Rin Yingying, whose acupoints were sealed, Icy Snow and Murong Fu were dumbfounded. Uncle, who is this lady? When Icy Snow saw Rin Yingying's beautiful appearance, she looked even more pitiful because she was under someone's control. For a moment, she felt complicated in her heart. When Murong Fu saw Rin Yingying, he was also shocked by her beauty. Her beauty was not inferior to his cousin in the slightest. However, his heart was set on restoring his country, and he did not care much about women. Even Wang Yuyan, who was so beautiful and had her heart set on him, had not been touched by him for many years. Rin Yingying was also shocked by Icy Snow's pure and flawless temperament. When she heard Icy Snow address Song Qing-shu as uncle, she was puzzled. According to the information, Song Qing-shu was the only son of Wudong's sect Song Yuanxiao. She had never heard of him having an elder brother. Her? Song Qing-shu smiled. She's my hostage. Ren Yingying's almond-shaped eyes widened as she glared at him. Ping Ji went into the thatched cottage. Young lady, you better pray that your lover succeeds in killing Murong Fu. Otherwise, since I can save your life, I can naturally kill you too. Putting the silver needles back into the toolbox, Ping Ji looked at Zhao Min, whose face was gradually turning red, and sneered. Zhao Min's pretty face was covered with a thin layer of frost. She said coldly, I'll remember today's humiliation. I'll return it to you tenfold in the future. Yo, young lady, you have quite a temper. Ping Ji laughed and said, Do you think I'm afraid of you? Where did you come from? How dare you speak so arrogantly? Zhao Min snorted coldly. She was not stupid enough to reveal her identity and take unknown risks because of a slip of the tongue. Seeing that she didn't speak, Ping Ji said, Song Qing-shu has different women by his side every time. Moreover, each of them is a national beauty. He's quite lucky with women. Have you seen him before? Zhao Min keenly picked up a piece of information from his words and asked doubtfully. Ping Ji knew that he had made a slip of the tongue. He quickly put on a straight face and said, Instead of worrying about this, it's better to worry about the poison in your body. You poison me? Zhao Min's voice trembled. Otherwise, how could I feel at ease making a deal with Song Qing-shu later? Ping Yiji's face was filled with pride as he stroked his goatee. Although Song Qing-shu is from an upright sect, his ruthlessness isn't inferior to the people of the devil cult. It's inevitable that he'll turn hostile later. His martial arts skills are high, so I have to be on guard. What poison did you put in my body? Zhao Min was shocked and angry. The 3-corpse brain pill. Have you heard of it? Ping Yiji smiled. Zhao Min was terrified. She was in charge of the Jianghu in the Riyang Palace, so she naturally knew about the famous 3-corpse brain pill of the Sun Moon sect. It was specially used by the hierarch to control the upper echelons of the sect. Only by taking the antidote on time every year could the toxicity be temporarily suppressed. Otherwise, the corpse worm in the brain would break free. Once it entered the brain, the person who took the pill would move like a ghost or a demon, and would even bite and eat his parents and wife. Thinking of the disgusting worms lurking in her body, Zhao Min trembled with anger. How dare you use such an insidious thing on me? Looks like you've heard of it. Ping Yiji chuckled. This 3-corpse brain pill is my masterpiece. Whether it's Dongfang Booby in the past or Runwushing now, they all treat it like a treasure. Also, let me remind you that the antidote is different according to the recipe of the poison. Dongfang Booby's antidote can't cure Renwushing's 3-corpse brain pill. Renwushing's antidote can't cure Dongfang Booby's either. Of course, their antidotes can't cure my 3-corpse brain pill either. Ping Yiji's face was full of pride. In this world, I'm the only one who can cure your poison. So, you have to pray that Song Qingshu doesn't play any tricks later. Even with Zhao Min's unparalleled intelligence, her mind instantly went blank when she thought of the poison in her body. She was extremely vexed. Rather than dying in such a disgusting way, it would have been better to let Song Qingshu have it easy from the start. Suddenly, noises came from outside the door. It seemed to be the greetings of the Sun Moon cult's disciples. Ping Yiji smiled faintly. Song Qingshu is back. Let's go see if he brought back Morong Fu's head. As soon as he finished speaking, he reached out and brushed Zhao Min's shoulder. Zhao Min felt her whole body go numb. She was immediately restrained by him and walked out. She was extremely shocked. What kind of acupoint sealing technique is this? How can it be so brilliant? Those who read the book, please join the group 337294925. I want to know how many people are reading this book. Chapter 341. She watched as Song Qingshu escorted a young man over. Although the man's hair was messy and there were traces of blood at the corner of his mouth, his starry eyes and dashing eyebrows could still be seen. Zhao Min frowned slightly. Is this the famous Nin Morong? Why did Song Qingshu really capture him? Song Qingshu, what is the meaning of this? This old man wants you to bring back Morong Fu's head, not a living person. Seeing the scene, Ping Yiji snorted and tightened his fingers. Zhao Min felt a sharp pain in her shoulder and couldn't help but cry out in pain. Song Qingshu said in a deep voice, "If I kill Morong Fu and come back, but you didn't treat my companion according to the agreement, wouldn't I suffer a great loss? In any case, Morong Fu is heavily injured and all his acupuncture points have been sealed by me. I can kill him at any time. With this old man's help, your companion naturally won't die. Look at her, and you will know that I didn't lie to you. Now, can you release the sage nun and kill Morong Fu as well?" Ping Yiji pushed Zhao Min in front of him so that Song Qingshu could see her more clearly. How can you see clearly like this? Song Qingshu deliberately lowered his voice. When Ping Yiji was listening attentively, he suddenly shouted, "Let her go." Song Qingshu's 2 palms pulled at Zhao Min from afar, using the Azure Dragon's absorption of water. Ping Yiji felt a huge force coming from Zhao Min's body and couldn't hold on any longer. He could only watch helplessly as Zhao Min was sucked in by Song Qingshu. He couldn't help but be alarmed and angry. He hastily spread his wings and followed closely behind Zhao Min. Song Qingshu held Zhao Min in his arms with one hand and struck out with his right palm. Ping Yiji, who was in midair, felt a heavy wave of qi coming at him. He quickly put his palms in front of him, and with a bang, he retreated even faster than when he came. After landing on the ground, he took a few steps back before he could steady himself. Prince Song is indeed worthy of his reputation as the #1 expert of the Manchurian Qing. Ping Yiji coughed a few times, his face as gloomy as water. Physician Ping's words are wrong. Song Mao has already broken off relations with the Manchurian Qing court. How can he be called the #1 expert of the Manchurian Qing? Song Qingshu was also incomparably shocked. He had never heard of Ping Yiji's martial arts being so amazing. Although he had held back his strength in that palm, normal people would either vomit blood or have their blood and qi churning. They wouldn't be able to speak at all. However, Ping Yiji seemed to be completely fine. "Prince Song, this old man has already returned your companion to you. I hope that young noble will keep your promise and release the sage nun. At the same time, you will also kill Morong Fu." Ping Yiji's expression was normal as he spoke. It was as if he had really sent Zhao Min back. Song Qingshu smiled faintly and didn't mind. He just held Zhao Min's pulse and carefully checked it. Finally, he let out a sigh of relief. Although Zhao Min's pulse was weak, it didn't show any signs of exhaustion like before. It's not impossible to release the sage nun. However, Physician Ping, can you first tell this one what enmity there is between you and Prince Morong? Why must you kill him? Song Qingshu was filled with admiration for Ping Yiji's medical skills. Thus, his tone also became warmer. "I hate that he is more handsome than this old man. Is there a problem?" Ping Yizhi understood that it was different from before. Previously, he had the confidence to not talk nonsense with him. Now that Zhao Min had been taken back, he rolled his eyes and began to pester him endlessly. Song Qingshu laughed involuntarily. This is also a reason. Seeing that Song Qingshu had no intention of making a move, Ping Yizhi's expression turned cold. He couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with Song Qingshu and immediately revealed his true intentions. Surnamed Song, don't be too happy too early. Do you think that everything will be fine after you take that lady back? What do you mean? Song Qingshu was startled. Only now did he realize that Zhao Min had not spoken since the beginning. Her mute acupoint must have been sealed. Song Qingshu quickly unsealed her acupoint. With a soft moan, Zhao Min finally regained her freedom. Her pretty face was expressionless as she said, I've been poisoned by his 3-corpse brain pill. As soon as she said this, Icy Snow and Murong Fu didn't have much of a reaction. However, those who knew about the toxicity of the 3-corpse brain pill, such as Song Qingshu and Ren Yingying, exclaimed in shock. The faces of the Sun Moon sect members were also ashen. Obviously, they were extremely afraid of that thing. Give me the antidote. Song Qingshu stretched out his hand in front of Ping Yizhi and said coldly. Ping Yizhi stroked the beard on his chin and chuckled. Young master, why do you pretend not to know? As long as you kill Murong Fu, I'll naturally hand over the antidote. If you want to kill me, do it yourself. Song Qingshu patted Murong Fu's waist and gently threw him in front of Ping Yizhi. Ping Yizhi was both shocked and furious. It would be easy for him to kill Murong Fu. The reason why he wanted to use Song Qingshu to kill him was mainly because he wanted to use Song Qingshu to deal with the Murong family's storm-like vengeance, especially that person. All signs indicated that he was still alive. That person's martial arts were already at the top of the world. Ping Yizhi knew that he was no match for him. Therefore, he had no choice but to use a borrowed knife to kill him and let Song Qingshu deal with him. Based on the martial arts that Song Qingshu had displayed in the past 2 years, he might even be able to help him get rid of his mortal enemy. Just as he was about to push Murong Fu back with his palm, Ping Yizhi suddenly realized that Murong Fu, whose acupoints were sealed, had actually broken free from the ropes and was about to envelop him with a palm. Ping Yizhi hastily exchanged more than 10 moves with him before he was able to escape. He felt his blood churning and couldn't help but glare at Song Qingshu. You lied to me. Before Song Qingshu could answer, Murong Fu cupped his fists and asked, I have heard of Mr. Ping's reputation as one of the 4 divine doctors in the world. I wonder if the Murong family of Gusu has ever offended you. Otherwise, why would you want to take my life, one in the north and the other in the south? We are thousands of miles apart and have never met before. His words were watertight. The people of Sun Moon sect nodded. They all felt that Murong Fu was indeed worthy of his reputation. He clearly knew that the other party wanted to kill him, but he still acted like a gentleman. They all thought that Ping Yizhi had gone crazy. Otherwise, why would he provoke a strong enemy like the Murong family? Ping Yizhi spat and said with hatred, The Murong family of Gusu did not offend me, but you have greatly offended me. Murong Fu was stunned. He thought hard for a long time, but he really couldn't think of any grievances between him and this person. Of course, he didn't know Ping Yizhi's true identity, so he naturally didn't understand the saying that treasuring a jade ring won in trouble. As the current leader of the Murong family, practicing the shifting stars was the biggest original sin. Be careful. Seeing that Murong Fu was distracted and Ping Yizhi attacked again, Song Qingshu hurriedly reminded him. This was a grievance between the two of them, so it was not appropriate for Song Qingshu to intervene. Moreover, with Murong Fu's status in Jianghu, it would not look good for him if he helped him. This was a good opportunity to observe Ping Yizhi's martial arts, to see if he could find out which sect he was from, and use it to deduce his identity. The Murong family was famous for being well-versed in hundreds of sections. Murong Fu was proficient in the martial arts of various sects, and he displayed the martial arts of more than 10 sects in a single move. The people of Sun Moon sect were dazzled and full of admiration, who knew that Ping Yizhi would not be outdone, and the types of martial arts he displayed were even more complicated. The two of them exchanged blows. One used the Skunda staff, the other used the blade of the 5 tigers breaking the gate. One used the eagle claw hand, and the other used the penetrating fist. Why are these two people's martial arts so similar? Zhao Min, who was at the side, asked in confusion. Song Qingshu's heart skipped a beat. He only felt a flash of lightning across his mind, but it seemed like he didn't think of anything. Why don't you use the shifting stars? Ping Yizhi sneered as he attacked. To deal with a clown like you, why do I need to use my family's divine skill? Murong Fu snorted and retaliated without mercy. Ping Yizhi laughed cruelly. If this old man is correct, your shifting stars has only been trained to the realm of borrowing force to fight force. That's why you don't dare to use it. You're worried that outsiders will see it, and you'll lose the mystery of giving someone a taste of their own medicine. When Murong Fu heard him speak his mind, he couldn't help but be shocked and angry. Who are you? Why do you know so much about the Murong family's affairs? It turned out that the Murong family of Gusu, giving someone a taste of their own medicine, was famous in Jianghu. It spread from 1 to 10, and from 10 to 100. The shifting stars was inevitably spread by the people of Jianghu. There was no one who would not be terrified when they saw so many martial arts masters die under their famous ultimate skills. In order to maintain the mystery of the shifting stars, the disciples of the Murong family usually wouldn't reveal it in front of outsiders. Therefore, those who had seen the shifting stars were basically all dead. Although the revolving star passage technique was wondrous, the majority of the successors were still stuck at the realm of borrowing force to fight force. When the opponent attacked, they would use their ingenuity to deflect the opponent's attack back to their own body, causing the opponent to die from their own famous technique. Murong Fu had practiced the shifting stars for many years, but he had only reached this realm. If the opponent's martial arts were too high, his shifting stars would not be able to divert the opponent's attack. He once heard that when the shifting stars was cultivated to a high realm, it would enter the realm of formless martial arts. At that time, there was no need to borrow force to fight force. All one had to do was watch the opponent use their martial arts once, and their heart would automatically deduce and perfect the opponent's martial arts. Then, they would use an even more perfect martial arts to defeat the opponent. This was the true meaning of giving someone a taste of their own medicine. Of course, it was passed down from generation to generation, and when the shifting stars was cultivated to a high realm, it could even move the stars. However, Murong Fu had always disregarded this. He subconsciously felt that it was just an exaggeration from his ancestors. I know a lot more. Ping Yizhi snorted, and his moves suddenly became fierce. I'll let you see what it means to give someone a taste of their own medicine. Next, Ping Yizhi no longer made his own move. Instead, he followed Murong Fu's move and immediately used the same move to meet it. The two clearly used the same moves, but Ping Yizhi seemed to be slightly more powerful. Murong Fu quickly fell into a disadvantage. Looking at the situation, Song Qingshu was also very surprised. The young master of the Murong family, who was known to give someone a taste of their own medicine, was instead being given a taste of their own medicine by the enemy. Ren Yingying's beautiful eyes were also full of doubt. Ping Yizhi had always been famous for his medical skills in the Sun Moon sect, but she never knew that his martial arts were so profound. Murong Fu was even more terrified. He thought to himself, could it be that this person has already entered the formless realm of the Big Dipper? Although he sensed that Ping Yizhi's breathing and expiration technique was not the shifting stars, he thought that the formless martial arts realm was not something he could understand, so he didn't have any doubts. However, because of this, Murong Fu's moves became even more obscure. Very soon, his chest was hit by a palm. He spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated. Song Qingshu couldn't just watch as Murong Fu was killed. He hurriedly pulled him over and shouted, I want to see if you can give me a taste of my own medicine. ______ group. 337294925. Chapter 342. Dragon Capturing Hand. Murong Fu was sucked over by Song Qingshu and looked at Song Qingshu in shock. When he saw him suck Zhao Min over, he wasn't too shocked. Now that he experienced it himself, it was unimaginable that he could suck a top-notch expert like him over. He didn't think that other than Xiao Feng, there would be someone else in the world who could practice a divine technique like dragon capturing hand. This was a misunderstanding on Murong Fu's part. Song Qingshu had only adapted it from the 18 dragon, subduing Palm's green dragon absorbs water. In addition, he often practiced the Li sword technique for fun. With practice, he had learned a technique that was not inferior to dragon capturing hand. Song Qingshu didn't know that Murong Fu had already thought of so many things. When he saw Ping Yiji's display of power, it was really unexpected. Thus, he didn't dare to be careless. 18 dragons subduing palms. Ping Yiji's eyes narrowed and his body trembled. He actually used the same move to meet it. How is this possible? Song Qingshu was also shocked. In the blink of an eye, the two had exchanged more than 10 moves. Ping Yiji used the same move every time, and the power seemed to be slightly stronger. Fortunately, Song Qingshu's martial arts cultivation was higher than his opponent's. In his shock, he didn't let Ping Yiji gain any advantage. After the two separated, Song Qingshu looked at Ping Yiji with fear. What internal energy is this? After the initial shock, Song Qingshu slowly calmed down. He could already see that although the opponent's moves were similar, the method of circulating qi and exerting force was completely different from the original martial arts. After so many moves, Song Qingshu gradually discovered that although the moves Ping Yiji used were from different sects, there was a trace of a pattern in the unseen world. Between each move, the method of channeling qi and exerting force was of the same origin. Song Qingshu deduced that he used the same type of internal energy to activate all kinds of moves. That was how he achieved the so-called giving someone a taste of their own medicine effect. I underestimated you. I didn't think that you would be able to see through it in such a short time. Ping Yiji was shocked. But so what if I can see through it? Could it be that you can recognize this divine technique? If it were someone else, it would have been fine, but in his previous life, Song Qingshu was very familiar with Jin Yang's novels. Even though he might not be as familiar with the origins of normal sex martial arts as he was with Gusu's Murong family, he was very clear about those that could be called divine martial arts. Thinking of a martial art, Song Qingshu's heart suddenly brightened. But he soon fell into doubt and asked, "Are you from the Carefree sect?" You actually know about the Carefree sect?" Ping Yiji looked at him in bewilderment. He did not expect Song Qingshu to know such a secret of the martial arts world at such a young age. "What's your relationship with Li Qiushui?" Song Qingshu thought about it. Among the 3 elders of the Carefree sect, Wu Yazi was the best at the Northern Underworld divine technique. Heavenly Mountain Tonglao was the best at the 8 Desolate Supremacy, or the Everlasting Youth technique, and Li Qiushui was the best at the Minor Phaseless technique. With Li Qiushui's love for handsome men, it was not surprising that the Minor Phaseless technique was spread. For example, the Great Wheel Wisdom King, Jiumaji. Song Qingshu had actually wanted to ask him many times if he had gotten the Minor Phaseless technique from Li Qiushui, but he was worried that it would trigger the painful memories of the Imperial Preceptor when he was young and would make him fall out with him, so he was too embarrassed to ask. Of course, all of this was just Song Qingshu's malicious gossip. Jiumaji's Minor Phaseless technique might have been obtained from Gusu's Wang family's Longwan paradise. "You even know about this?" Ping Yiji was shocked. He thought that Song Qingshu already knew about it, so he didn't hide it anymore. That old witch tasted good, but as a man, how could I be willing to be violated by a woman? When I escaped, I took her Minor Phaseless technique as payment for the prostitution. From now on, we don't owe each other anything. Looking at the short and fat Ping Yiji, with his disgusting mustache, Song Qingshu couldn't help but criticize in his heart. Rumor has it that Li Qiushui liked to find young and handsome boys for her to play with. Looking at Ping Yiji's current appearance, he probably wasn't that handsome when he was young. Li Qiushui's aesthetic standards are indeed a little worrying. Speaking of which, Prince Morong still has to call me God Grandfather. Haha. Ping Yiji laughed loudly. obviously thinking of something very happy. Bastard. Morong Fu didn't know the relationship between Li Qiushui and Wang Yuyan, so he was confused. But when he heard Ping Yiji's words, he was still furious. He was about to rush forward, but he was stopped by Song Qingshu. Right now, Ping Yiji's strength was unknown, and Song Qingshu was worried that he would lose his life in vain. After all, Ping Yiji had helped him out for his own sake. If something happened to him, Song Qingshu would feel bad. Minor phaseless technique doesn't rely on form, and there are no traces to be found. As long as you know the moves of other martial arts, you can imitate other people's techniques, even better than the original version. It has a certain similarity to the Murong family's Big Dipper technique. Song Qingshu instantly pointed out the characteristics of minor phaseless technique. Ping Yiji's expression was uncertain. Murong Fu looked pensive. Physician Ping, I want to see if you can imitate my palm technique. As soon as he finished speaking, a palm imprinted on his body in an unpredictable manner. Ping Yiji saw that this move was clearly a move from the 18 dragons subduing palms, but in the blink of an eye, it seemed to have turned into the amazed sex floating fragrance penetrating palm. There was also a hint of Wudong's soft palm. Looking at the subsequent changes, it seemed to be mixed with Kongtong's 7 injuring fists and Mount Song's great yang palm. Just looking at it was enough to make Ping Yiji nauseous. How could Ping Yiji still imitate his moves? He hastily raised his palm to meet the attack, but Song Qingshu's palm gently turned and pressed down on his shoulder. Song Qingshu had not yet released his palm strength when he suddenly felt a sharp wind coming from the air. He quickly dodged and retreated. Dali's Duan family's solitary yang finger. Murong Fu cried out in surprise. Ping Yiji took the opportunity to pull away from Song Qingshu and looked at the other warily. His shoulder was only brushed by the wind from Song Qingshu's palm, but it was already numb. Fortunately, Song Qingshu's solitary yang finger forced him away, or else his shoulder bones would have been broken. Are you finally willing to use your special skill? Song Qingshu faintly smiled. With his eyesight, he could naturally tell that Ping Yiji's attainment in the solitary yang finger was much higher than his small non-phase method imitating other people's moves. It's just, how did you learn Dali's secret technique? It's really strange. Strange? What's so strange about knowing the solitary yang finger? Ping Yiji, this old man's name is not just for show. Ping Yiji looked at him with a smile that was not a smile, but in his heart, he already had the intention to retreat. Since your distinguished self's finger technique is superb, and you call yourself Ping Yiji, then what was your distinguished self's previous name? Zhao Min was quick-witted and quickly realized the flaw in his words. Ping Yiji's breath was stifled. He didn't expect his words to reveal a flaw. He calmly said, "Little girl, instead of caring about my name, you might as well care about the poison in your body. You'd better persuade your lover to help this old man kill Murong Fu. Then this old man will naturally detoxify you. If I catch you, I will naturally force you to hand over the antidote." Song Qingshu coldly snorted. His figure flashed, and he appeared in front of Ping Yiji. Ping Yiji didn't expect his body technique to be so fast. In a great shock, he used everything he had learned in his life to dismantle it. The two of them had already exchanged dozens of moves in the arena. Smoke and dust rose in all directions as the two of them exchanged blows. Suddenly, there was a muffled shout. Ping Yiji screamed and flew back. Song Qingshu was about to catch up, but he was suddenly stunned by the scene in front of him. It turned out that Ping Yiji had been struck by Song Qingshu's palm and suffered serious internal injuries. He could no longer maintain his original body shape. With a series of crackling sounds, the short and fat killer doctor had actually transformed into a tall and thin middle-aged man. Murong Jingwe? Song Qingshu was startled when he saw the man's appearance. How could it be him? However, it was clear why Ping Yiji wanted to use him to kill Murong Fu. Suddenly, there was a delicate shout. Icy Snow in a white dress rushed out from the forest where she was lying in ambush. Her long whip coiled around Ping Yiji's body from afar. Ping Yiji was seriously injured. In the blink of an eye, He was in a difficult situation because of Icy Snow's fierce attack. However, he still had his martial arts cultivation. Icy Snow was afraid of the power of his solitary solar finger, so she couldn't do anything to him for the time being. Worried that something might happen to Icy Snow, Song Qingshu quickly pounced over to lend her a hand. Unexpectedly, he suddenly heard a sharp whistling sound coming from his side while he was in midair. He quickly shrunk his waist and flipped his body in midair, dodging the incoming attack. As soon as he landed, the sharp weapon that flew over circled back. Song Qingshu didn't know what was real and what was fake. He didn't dare to take it head-on. He leaned to the side and narrowly dodged it. When he finally saw the person who launched the sneak attack, he couldn't help but be shocked and angry. Jinlun Fuwang, Princess, please forgive us for being late to the rescue. The Xianming elders had just finished speaking when they pounced on Zhao Min while Song Qingshu was being held up by Jinlun Fuwang. Murong Fu was shocked. Hastily, he raised his sword to meet the attack. Who would have thought that the Xianming elders were experts in joint attack? One of them used his deer head staff to block his sword, while the other raised his palm to attack. Murong Fu hastily raised his palm to meet the attack, but he felt the biting cold air penetrating his arm. Before he could react, Lu Zhangke's other hand quietly reached out from his pocket and struck his abdomen. Wing's crane beak pin also came out like a ghost and swept Murong Fu's ribs. Murong Fu was, after all, an expert who used to be as famous as Qiao Feng. Although the incident had happened suddenly, and he had fallen into a dangerous situation, he had hurriedly used the star transposition technique to counteract the force of the two's attacks on his body. Taking advantage of the moment when the two were stunned, he hastily used the counterforce to retreat several feet away. His clothes were already soaked in cold sweat. The Xianming elders looked at their palms in confusion. They shouted in unison, "Paying someone back in their own coin? Shifting Star's heart technique." Murong Fu looked at the situation. He wasn't a match for these two strange old men. The monk with the wheel seemed to be no weaker than Song Qingshu. In addition, there were many experts of the Sun Moon sect. Murong Fu quickly thought of leaving. However, when he thought about how Song Qingshu had just given him a divine martial art manual, it would be too unkind of him to just leave. For a moment, he couldn't advance or retreat. Group 337294925. Chapter 343. After hesitating for a long time, Murong Fu decided to stand aside and observe the situation. He would help Song Qingshu restrain him from a distance, so there was no need for him to join the fight. If the situation was hopeless and he was far away, it would be easy for him to escape. He could return to Swallow Dock to practice the 18 dragon subduing palms and avenge Song Qingshu in the future. Seeing that Murong Fu was standing far away, the Xianming elders did not move forward. It was more important to protect Zhao Min at the moment. Seeing Ren Yingying by Zhao Min's side, Lu Zhangke's lust was aroused. He reached out his hand to caress her face. "Hey," he thought, "which family's miss is this? How come you are so beautiful?" "Bastard! Stop!" Angry curses rose and fell from the crowd. It turned out that the Sun Moon sect members were worried about Song Qingshu. Now that he was entangled and Lu Zhangke wanted to be rude to the sage nun, they could no longer hold back and drew their weapons to attack. Fortunately, they were worried about Ren Yingying's safety. Otherwise, if they had shot the two Xianming elders together with Zhao Min, they would have died on the spot. Although the Xianming elders were highly skilled, the Sun Moon sect members were all elites. They outnumbered them, and the Xianming elders had to take care of Zhao Min's safety. Both sides were evenly matched. Ping Yizhi paid attention to the changes in the battlefield. He knew that if he wanted to escape with his life, success or failure would depend on this move. Risking his internal energy, he circulated his solitary yang finger and pointed at Icy Snow's body, temporarily forcing her away. Then he waved his sleeve and scattered a handful of poisonous powder in the air, taking the opportunity to escape. Icy Snow knew that he was an expert in using poison, so she did not dare to take it head-on. She quickly dodged to the side, but it was too late to catch him. Song Qingshu knew that Murong Jingwei was Icy Snow's target, so he would not let him escape. Although the two were far apart, Song Qingshu knew that Murong Jingwei would not be able to escape if he used the traceless sand step. Unfortunately, as soon as he moved, Jinluan Fuwang was already in front of him, angrily scolding, "Hey, you little thief! Last time you took advantage of the situation to kidnap the princess. Today, this old monk will let you experience the power of the dragon-elephant prajna technique." As soon as he finished speaking, Jinluan Fuwang's body shook. The 5 elements of gold, silver, copper, iron, and tin all flew towards him, up, down, left, and right, all at different angles. Seeing Murong Jingwei disappear into the distance, Song Qingshu's anger surged, and he no longer held back. Seeing a wheel flying toward him, he clasped his hands together and smashed it into pieces. Jinluan Fuwang turned pale with fright. He directed the other 4 wheels to attack him. Murong Fu saw the situation clearly and quickly said loudly, "Brother Song, Murong Jingwei is a traitor of the Murong family. Let me go and clean up the house." He could see clearly that although Murong Jingwei's martial arts were higher than his, he was seriously injured and it would not be difficult for him to defeat him. Instead of staying here, it would be better to chase after him and use the excuse of cleaning up the house. Song Qingshu could not refuse. Sure enough, Song Qingshu hesitated for a moment and could only say, "Brother Murong, be careful of his poison." Before he finished speaking, Jinluan Fuwang's attacks had already arrived in front of him. He quickly dodged and punched and kicked at the same time, very quickly smashing the other wheels into pieces. Jinluan Fuwang did not dare to continue using his weapon to attack through the air. He quickly took the remaining golden wheel in his hand. With one hand holding the wheel and the other circulating the dragon-elephant prajna technique, he pounced forward. Song Qingshu dodged the edge of the incomparably sharp golden wheel while exchanging blows with Jinluan Fuwang's right hand. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 blows had passed. Song Qingshu felt that his hands were extremely sore and numb. He was shocked at the power of his opponent's every move. The dragon-elephant prajna technique was just as its name suggested. After mastering it, a single move would have the strength of a dragon and an elephant. Although it was somewhat exaggerated, Song Qingshu still felt a little strained by using the 18 dragon subduing palms to deal with it. Taking advantage of an opening, the wooden sword slipped from his sleeve into his hand. This was not to say that the 18 dragon subduing palms was inferior to the dragon-elephant prajna technique, but rather that Song Qingshu's martial arts did not follow the path of firm and fierce, so he could not bring out the true power of the 18 dragon subduing palms. If Qiao Feng and Guijing were here, it would be hard to say who would emerge victorious if they used the 18 dragon subduing palms to meet force with force. At this moment, Zhao Min's delicate shout was heard, "All of you stop!" Zhao Min had been in a high position for a long time, so her words and actions naturally carried a sense of dignity. Therefore, other than her subordinates, even the disciples of the Sun Moon Church stopped what they were doing and stared blankly at her. Zhao Min watched helplessly as Murong Jingwei ran away. She trembled with anger and glared at the Xianming elders and the others. "Who told you to cause trouble?" The Xianming elders looked at each other and smiled sheepishly. "Royal advisor, and we only did it to save you, princess." Seeing their weather-beaten faces, Zhao Min could not be too harsh on them. She could only say, "This Prince Song and I are old acquaintances. What happened at the inn last time was just a little joke he played on me. You don't have to take it to heart." A flash of anger flashed in Jinluan Fuwang's eyes. He snorted, but did not say anything. The Xianming elders were experts raised by the Ryong Palace, so they would not go against her wishes. "The man who escaped just now tried to plot against me several times. Prince Song had been protecting me all this time, but when you came, he took advantage of the chaos and escaped instead." Hearing Zhao Min's words, the 3 of them looked at each other and cursed in their hearts. The Xianming elders, in particular, were telepathic and full of gossip. "Weren't you fooling around with Zhang Wuji of the Ming Dynasty? Why are you having an affair with this man? Hee hee, Wonderful, wonderful. In any case, we don't like Zhang Wuji, so we'll let Song Qingshu make him a cuckold. Naturally, Xiaomin did not know what they were thinking. Otherwise, she would probably explode with anger. She turned around and looked at Rin Yingying with a pleasant expression. There have been many misunderstandings between me and Saintus. I hope Saintus won't take offense at my servant's rudeness just now. In fact, if it weren't for the Sun Moon sect's poisonous water arrows, Zhao Min would love to take this great opportunity to kidnap Rin Yingying and bring her to the Ruyang Palace as a guest. Rin Yingying had already been taken back by her subordinates during the chaos. Although the Sun Moon sect had the advantage in numbers, Zhao Min's subordinates were too skilled in martial arts. Rin Yingying wasn't sure if she could keep them here. Seeing that Zhao Min was showing her goodwill, she naturally took advantage of the situation and nodded slightly. Yingying really admires the princess's elegant demeanor today. We shall meet again someday. She was very upset. If she had known that this woman was the Mongolian princess Xiao Min, she would have ordered her subordinates to bring her back to Blackwood Cliff, even if it meant risking her own life. Besides, Rin Yingying didn't believe that Song Qingshu would really hurt her. She took a deep look at Song Qingshu and knew that they couldn't keep him here with just these few people. Rin Yingying bit her lower lip, waved her hand, and left in a hurry with her subordinates. Zhao Min glanced at them and nodded slightly. Thank you for taking care of me these past few days. We shall meet again someday. Princess, please reconsider. Hearing her words, the expressions of Jinluan Fuang and the Xianming elders changed. In their minds, this was a great opportunity for the three of them to gang up on one person. It would be a piece of cake for Song Qingshu. I made up my mind. There's no need to say anything more. Zhao Min naturally understood what the three of them were thinking. However, she was also clear that regardless of whether the three of them could defeat Song Qingshu if they joined forces, the three of them wouldn't be able to keep him here based on his unpredictable Qinggong. Moreover, she didn't want to keep him here. Watching Zhao Min turn and leave, Song Qingshu said anxiously, "But the poison in the princess's body." Zhao Min paused and snorted. The Ruyang Palace is full of talents. They have their own ways to cure the poison. There's no need for you to worry. After she finished speaking, she didn't look back again under the protection of the three people. The princess has already gone so far. Uncle, why are you still so reluctant to part with her? Icy Snow came to Song Qingshu's side and said jealously when she saw him staring blankly in the direction where Zhao Min disappeared. No, I'm just wondering if Prince Morong can deal with Morong Jingwe. Song Qingshu came back to his senses and laughed involuntarily. Icy Snow blushed at his laughter. She said snappily, "Uncle, why are you laughing so strangely?" "Nothing." Song Qingshu shook his head and smiled without saying anything. Icy Snow glared at him snappily. Her skin looked exceptionally sparkling under the sunlight. "Uncle, I'm afraid I'll have to take my leave." Song Qingshu was shocked. "Sister-in-law, why?" Icy Snow's eyelashes drooped and trembled slightly. "I've been tracking Murong Jingyue's whereabouts. Now that I've finally found his whereabouts, how can I let it go?" Song Qingshu was speechless. Icy Snow had been tracking Black Spirit Ice to avenge her husband and had locked her target on Murong Jingyue. How could he stop her from tracking him down? However, the two of them had been separated for a long time. Now that they finally met, Song Qingshu was reluctant to part with her. He thought for a while and finally found a legitimate reason. "Sister-in-law, you should understand that Murong Jingyue's martial arts are so high that it's probably beyond our expectations. Even if you find him, you won't be able to take revenge and will fall into the enemy's hands. Why bother?" Icy Snow looked into the distance and sighed faintly. "Uncle, have you heard of a saying?" "What?" Song Qingshu was stunned. "Do it even though you know it's impossible." Icy Snow opened her red lips and slowly spat out a few words. Although Icy Snow spoke softly, Song Qingshu knew that she had made up her mind. He had an urge to say that he would accompany her to track down Murong Jingyue's whereabouts. Song Qingshu knew that there was something unclear between them. If he made this choice, it wouldn't be difficult for him to win Icy Snow's heart. However, he understood that he had other things to do. Mongolia was getting stronger and stronger, and it was obvious that they were going to unify the world. If he didn't seize the time to digest the Qing dynasty's forces, he might not even be qualified to compete in the future. There were two reasons why Song Qing-shu could accompany Zhao Min to Kaifeng for medical treatment from thousands of miles away. Firstly, it was more or less official business. More importantly, the time he spent with Zhao Min was controllable. Song Qing-shu could finish everything in 1 to 2 days and immediately rush back to Shandong to meet up with Xia Qingqing to deal with the Golden Snake Camp. But it was different from Icy Snow's search for Murong Jingwe. Murong Jingwe was highly skilled in martial arts and extremely cunning. It was expected that he wouldn't be captured in a short time. Then, Song Qing-shu wouldn't be able to return to Shandong, and Dongfang Muxue had already mobilized the imperial army to march south according to the original plan. Letting out a long sigh, Song Qing-shu had already made up his mind. Since it's like this, I'll teach sister-in-law martial art, so that when sister-in-law meets Murong Jingwe in the future, she won't be controlled by him. A trace of sadness flashed in Icy Snow's eyes, but she quickly concealed it and inquired, "What martial art?" "The Nine-In Sutra." Song Qing-shu replied slowly. Although the Nine-In Sutra had always been the most valuable treasure in the pugilistic world, as a transmigrator, his way of thinking was different from the indigenous pugilistic world's people. As a transmigrator, Song Qing-shu had never understood why Guijing didn't teach the Nine-In Sutra to the Song soldiers. If every soldier in the Song dynasty knew the Nine-In Sutra, how terrifying would their combat power be? After coming to this world, Song Qing-shu understood the difficulties involved. First, a profound martial art like the Nine-In Sutra was obscure and difficult to understand. Ordinary soldiers might not be able to learn it. Second, leaks were also a problem. Third, the greater the ability, the greater the threat. When the soldiers learned such a profound martial art, they might not obey orders like before. When marching and fighting a war, an expert who disobeyed orders was far less useful than an obedient soldier. Although Song Qing-shu understood all of this, he did not dispel the thought of equipping his subordinates with a peerless martial art. Moreover, Icy Snow had an extraordinary relationship with him, so the Nine-In Sutra was nothing to him. To his surprise, Icy Snow shook her head faintly, treating the most valuable treasure in the pugilistic world as nothing. Her tone was gentle but firm. "I don't want to learn it." "Why?" This time, it was Song Qing-shu's turn to be dumbfounded. Icy Snow was silent for a while. A strange look appeared in her beautiful eyes. "If I remember correctly, when we traveled the pugilistic world together, my uncle once told me that the Nine-In Sutra was extracted from the Dragon Slayer's saber and heavenly sword after they fought." "Yeah." Song Qing-shu had a baffled expression on his face. "But this Nine-In Sutra was given to you by my wife." Icy Snow sighed faintly. "My uncle shouldn't use his wife's things to please other women. If it wasn't for the sake of saving fear, you wouldn't have learned the white python whip technique from him." When Song Qing-shu heard her mention Zhou Zhuo, he was shocked. He did not expect this. He was about to speak, but he did not know how to explain it. For a moment, he was stunned. Song Qing-shu knew very well that Icy Snow was unwilling to learn his wife's skills. However, his other martial arts, such as the Holy Reflection Sutra and the 18 Dragons Subduing Palms, were unyielding and unsuitable for women to cultivate. The delightful Zen was even worse, as he did not want to be beaten to death by his angry sister-in-law. As for his sword technique, Song Qing-shu's sword technique emphasized sword intent instead of sword moves. Icy Snow's realm was not high enough, so she would not be able to learn it even if he taught it to her. "But you're no match for Murong Jingwe with your current martial arts. When he recovers from his internal injuries, you'll definitely lose to him," said Song Qing-shu worriedly. Actually, Icy Snow suddenly stuttered and looked bashful. "Actually what?" Song Qing-shu was taken aback. "Actually, I also have a superior inner force technique. It's just that I haven't mastered it due to various reasons. If I master it, I should have no problem dealing with Murong Jingwe." A blush suddenly appeared on Icy Snow's snow-white face. Song Qing-shu asked curiously, "What kind of inner force technique is so powerful?" It's just that there's a huge difficulty in cultivating this inner force technique. Icy Snow did not answer directly. Instead, she looked around and talked about other things. Her pretty face was so red that water could almost drip out. What's the difficulty? Although I dare not say that I'm invincible with my current martial arts, the difficulty of ordinary inner force techniques shouldn't be a problem for me. I can help you study it. Song Qing-shu was speaking the truth. Although he might not reach the realm of Wang Chongyang's mastery of the Nine Sutra in 10 days, it shouldn't be a problem for him to give Icy Snow some pointers on inner force. This inner force technique is the ancient tomb sect's highest mental cultivation technique. It's called the Nine Sutra. Icy Snow did not answer the difficulty and only mentioned the name of the inner force technique. Group ID 3372949925. Chapter 344. Sutra. Song Qing-shu had a strange expression on his face. He smiled strangely and said, "There's indeed a huge difficulty in cultivating this." Icy Snow looked at him in astonishment and asked, "You know about it?" "Of course I do." Song Qing-shu smiled even more happily when he recalled how Yanghua and Xiaolong knew how to take off their clothes and cultivate face-to-face in order to cultivate this martial art. Does he really know about it? Icy Snow felt goosebumps when she saw his smile, but she quickly shook her head and said, "That's impossible. Sutra is the ancient tomb sect's secret art. How can an outsider like him know about it?" "You don't believe me?" Song Qing-shu asked with a chuckle after noticing Icy Snow's expression. Icy Snow straightened her pretty face and snorted, "Of course I don't believe you. It's impossible for you to know about it." Song Qing-shu calmly looked at her and slowly said, "Yes, you must find a spacious place where there is no one around. You must practice with your clothes unbuttoned so that the heat will immediately disperse without any obstruction. Otherwise, it will accumulate in your body. If it's minor, you will fall seriously ill." Seeing the slight change in Icy Snow's expression, Song Qing-shu smiled and continued, "This internal energy technique is extremely dangerous. It must be practiced by two people and use their internal energy to guide and defend. Every step of this Nigong is very difficult, and you will enter the wrong path at any time. If there is no one to help you, you will definitely go mad. Only you can help me, and I will help you. Only by combining our strength will we be able to overcome this dangerous obstacle together." "How do you know about it so clearly?" Icy Snow bit her lips and stared blankly at the side of his face. "Have you forgotten what I told you before? A wandering Taoist named Jin Yong told me about it," answered Song Qing-shu. "That shameless Taoist. How does he know about this?" It should be known that when the ancient tomb sect's disciples practiced the Jade Maiden Heart Sutra, it was always the two girls who took off their clothes and practiced together. Due to various reasons, it was not known to outsiders, so they all kept their mouths shut. Unless their master taught them, even the disciples of the ancient tomb sect did not know about it. In this case, Icy Snow couldn't help but suspect that Jin Yong had spied on the people in the ancient tomb while they were cultivating. That was why she knew so much about him. That was why she wasn't polite when she mentioned him. Song Qing-shu smiled without saying a word. It was better for Lao Jin to be implicated than to be the punching bag. Sure enough, it didn't take long for Icy Snow to calm down. The anger on her face dissipated and was replaced by an inexplicable embarrassment and shyness. "If sister-in-law doesn't mind, I can help sister-in-law." He couldn't wait for the woman to take the initiative to ask him to practice this skill. But Icy Snow pondered for a moment and sighed faintly. "We are, after all, men and women. It's inappropriate to look at each other after taking off our clothes." Song Qing-shu thought to himself, "I've already touched your ribs when I helped you fix them. What's there to be afraid of?" Of course, he wouldn't dare to say this even if he was beaten to death. He quickly said, "Well, actually, this problem isn't difficult to solve." "How?" Icy Snow asked softly. "Can't you just cover my eyes?" Song Qingshu really couldn't understand why Xiao Longnu insisted on cultivating in the wild, which resulted in her being disturbed and seriously injured. Of course, I don't mind if you don't cover your eyes. What nonsense are you talking about? Icy Snow pouted. Suddenly, she thought of something and blushed. Uncle, you're not a good person. Song Qingshu was at a loss. Everyone else received the good guy card, but he received the not good guy card. Life was really unpredictable. Icy Snow lowered her head and her expression couldn't be seen. With Uncle's current martial arts, you've already restrained your divine aura and your eyes are like torches. How can a mere cloth block you? I really didn't think of this. Song Qingshu cried out in injustice. He really didn't realize that there was such a benefit when one's martial arts reached a high level. Seeing that he didn't look like he was lying, Icy Snow nodded slowly and acknowledged. It seems like I'm not fated to learn this skill. Icy Snow sighed. Back when her master imparted the Jade Girl Heart Sutra to her, she left in a hurry due to an important matter, causing her to have no one to practice with. Later on, after marrying Hu Yidao, she put all her thoughts on her husband and son and didn't think about practicing martial arts. Therefore, she missed the opportunity again. Song Qingshu said in a deep voice, I'll just close my eyes when I practice. But won't you see everything once you open your eyes? Icy Snow's snow-white complexion faintly revealed a hint of redness. I said I won't open my eyes, so I won't open them. Do you believe me, sister-in-law? Song Qingshu's expression was solemn. His eyes were incomparably clear without a trace of evil thoughts. Icy Snow subconsciously believed him, but she still shook her head bashfully. No. Why? Song Qingshu was speechless. Icy Snow hesitated for a moment and decided to speak the truth. Although your eyes are closed, I can see you naked. When that happens, I'll inevitably feel restless and easily go berserk. Sister-in-law, can't you just cover your eyes? Song Qingshu said. Icy Snow bit her lips and rolled her eyes at him. How can I be sure that you're not opening your eyes that way? Song Qingshu's heart fluttered under her mesmerizing gaze. He could only spread his hands and said, Then I really don't know what else to do. Why don't we learn from Yanghua and Xiao Longnu and find a dense cluster of flowers in the wild to cultivate together? That's a good idea, but who's Yanghua and Xiao Longnu? Icy Snow's beautiful eyes lit up as she asked in surprise. They're your junior sister and brother-in-law. Song Qingshu didn't want to be entangled with this issue, so he quickly said, But no matter how quiet a place is, it's inevitable that people will pass by. Icy Snow smiled. Don't worry, Uncle. The Jade Maiden Heart Sutra is in advance in odd numbers and Yang Retreat in even numbers. In advance must be done in one go. There must be no pause in the middle, so I will practice it. As for Yang Retreat, it can be stopped at any time, so Uncle will practice it. If you encounter an enemy, Uncle can stop practicing it at any time. With Uncle's power, it should not be a problem for you to protect me. Song Qingshu shook his head and said, That's not what I'm worried about. Icy Snow was startled. Then what are you worried about? I'm just worried that your pure body will be seen by outsiders, Song Qingshu mumbled. Icy Snow was so angry that she laughed and said, Then, are you an outsider or an insider? Of course I'm an insider, Song Qingshu said confidently. Are you still thinking about keep the goodies within the family? Icy Snow glared at him with a frosty face. How would you know? Ouch, don't hit me, it hurts. Song Qingshu dodged and begged for mercy. After a long while, Icy Snow let out a faint sigh. Uncle, you've always been surrounded by beauties. Even that princess and that saintess are far more beautiful than sister-in-law. Why do you have to have thoughts that you shouldn't have? Chapter 345. Sister-in-law, are you jealous? Song Qingshu asked with an odd smile. Why would I be jealous? Icy Snow was interrupted and momentarily forgot to reprimand him. Sister-in-law, do you think that I have something to do with those two women? Song Qingshu smiled even more happily. Icy Snow blushed and said angrily, Sister-in-law, you should be happy that they have something to do with you. Why would you be jealous? Sister-in-law, you're overthinking it. There's nothing between me and them. It's not the kind of relationship you think. Song Qingshu complained. Besides, you don't have to be so modest. In terms of appearance and temperament, which part of you is inferior to them? This isn't the point of our discussion. Icy Snow became anxious. I'm saying that you don't. Song Qingshu interrupted her and said, Sister-in-law, I understand what you mean. However, love is the most mysterious thing. As long as you and I have feelings and stop at etiquette, why do we have to force it? Icy Snow was speechless and couldn't help but snort. Yes, I can't win you in reasoning, but I still hope that uncle can understand that it's impossible between us. Why? Song Qingshu asked in a deep voice. It's impossible. What's the point of why? Icy Snow turned her face to the side and decided to ignore him. Sister-in-law, are you worried about secular etiquette? Or are you concerned about other people's opinions? Song Qingshu asked. Isn't the reason enough for us to address each other as uncle and sister-in-law? Icy Snow's face was frosty. I'm going to get angry if uncle continues to harp on this issue. All right, I won't ask anymore. Song Qingshu smiled bitterly. Let's find a cluster of flowers to practice then. Icy Snow responded non-committally with an N. Thankfully, Ping Yiji's residence was situated in a beautiful and tranquil valley. Soon, the duo found a lush, flowering shrub. The shrub was dozens of feet long and was densely packed. Its fragrance assailed their nostrils. Sister-in-law, why don't we practice here? With the flowers between us, even if we take off our clothes, we won't be able to see each other. Looking at the flowers in front of him, Song Qingshu was full of praise. Icy Snow leaped up the tree and looked around. She saw that all directions were quiet and secluded. She could only hear the sound of the spring and the chirping of birds. There was no trace of people. It was indeed a good place to practice. Song Qingshu was impressed by the ancient tomb sect's lightness skill. At the same time, he was impressed by Icy Snow's lightness skill. Icy Snow nodded slightly and said softly, Here then. Song Qingshu said, Yes. Icy Snow fell silent for a moment and slowly said, Not now. Let's talk about it at night. Song Qingshu was stunned for a moment, but quickly understood what she was thinking. Although there were flowers in the way, it was still too difficult for her to undress in front of him in broad daylight, so he did not continue to force her. The two of them returned to Ping Yiji's wooden hut and told each other about what they had encountered after they separated. As they chatted along the way, their relationship unknowingly became closer. Is my cooking terrible? Icy Snow probed when she saw Song Qingshu's troubled expression. It turned out that the two of them planned to practice in the flowers after dinner. As a woman, Icy Snow naturally wouldn't let Song Qingshu cook. She busied herself in the kitchen for half a day and finally prepared a table full of dishes. There aren't many men in the world who have the fortune to eat sister-in-law's cooking. How can it be terrible? Song Qingshu looked indifferent on the surface, but he was complaining in his heart. Icy Snow's cooking skills were really unflattering. Icy Snow was aware of her own situation. She blushed and said, Uncle, you don't have to lie to me. I know it's terrible. I've been running around for the past few years, so I rarely have the chance to cook. Moreover, Fear doesn't like to eat my cooking, so we usually eat at taverns and eat dry rations when we're on the road. I like sister-in-law's cooking. Song Qingshu gobbled a few mouthfuls of rice to show that he was telling the truth. You only know how to make me happy. Icy Snow chuckled when she saw Song Qingshu gobbling down his food. Slowed down, sigh. After midnight, the two of them came to the depths of the flower's shade. In the quiet night, the fragrance of flowers was even stronger. Icy Snow told him about the Jade Maiden Heart Sutra. Song Qingshu pondered for a while and realized that this internal cultivation technique was indeed extremely dangerous. After asking about the puzzling parts, Song Qingshu had a clear understanding of this cultivation technique. The two of them went to different sides of the flowering shrubs. Song Qingshu was more relaxed and quickly untied his clothes. Icy Snow hesitated for a while. Seeing that she really couldn't see the situation on the opposite side, she felt relieved. Uncle, can you promise me to keep my eyes closed when I practice? Icy Snow asked awkwardly. We're separated by such a thick shrub of flowers. Sister-in-law, are you still worried? Song Qingshu smiled bitterly. When he saw the pleading look in Icy Snow's eyes, his heart softened and he quickly nodded. Okay. I'll close my eyes. Icy Snow saw that he really kept his promise and closed his eyes. Then, she took off her dress with a rustling sound. She slowly passed her left arm through the flowering shrubs and placed it with Song Qingshu's right palm. As long as one of them encountered any difficulties during practice, the other party would sense it and immediately circulate his energy to help. The creamy sensation from his palm made Song Qingshu's heart skip a beat. He understood that this cultivation technique was extremely dangerous. He quickly calmed down and focused his mind. The two of them worked on their cultivation with the flowering shrubs between them. Steam rose from their bodies, and the fragrance of the flowers became even more fragrant. Song Qingshu's martial arts were powerful, but it wasn't considered a top-notch internal cultivation technique in the entire Jin Yang's cultivation system. After a few circulatory cycles, under the guidance of Song Qingshu's true qi, Icy Snow's cultivation speed was also much faster than ordinary people. In just a few hours, she had cultivated to the 7th level. In another 4 hours, she would be able to complete it. However, Song Qingshu suddenly discovered that the true energy in her meridians was suddenly in disorder. The snow-white skin on her face also changed and turned red. What's going on? Song Qingshu was confused. He had been guiding Icy Snow's true energy, so there shouldn't be any problems. It turned out that when Murong Jingwe saw Zhao Min's unparalleled beauty, he had some unbearable thoughts. As there were too many people during the day, it wasn't convenient for him to make a move. Thus, he secretly put an aphrodisiac in the water jar. According to his plan, he would find a reason, such as detoxification, to make Zhao Min stay there. As Ping Yiji was an old man and had the identity of a divine doctor as a cover, it was difficult to arouse suspicion. Therefore, the success rate of making Zhao Min stay was very high. Worried that Zhao Min would be too unyielding, Murong Jingwe put an aphrodisiac in the water jar in advance. When the tea was made, it would be impossible to guard against it. Icy Snow didn't know any of this. She used the water in the water jar to cook, so she was poisoned. When the drug took effect, her true energy was on the verge of losing control. Chapter 346. Although Song Qingshu had also eaten, he was naturally immune to such drugs. Sister-in-law, calm down and focus. Don't practice for the time being, Song Qingshu shouted anxiously. Unfortunately, Icy Snow was at a critical juncture in her cultivation and couldn't hear him at all. Although she subconsciously felt that it wasn't appropriate to continue practicing, she didn't realize the danger involved. Ha ha! Suddenly, a man's laughter came from nearby. Not good. Song Qingshu cried out in alarm. This person was full of energy, and his internal energy was incomparably dense. His laughter was mixed with vital energy, and even Song Qingshu felt that his ears were buzzing. Why would Icy Snow, who was practicing, bother? Icy Snow spat out a mouthful of blood and finally came to her senses. She had suffered severe internal injuries. Who are you, scoundrel? Upon seeing Icy Snow spitting blood, Song Qingshu couldn't help but fly into a rage. He raised his left hand, and the surrounding petals and leaves were wrapped in his internal energy. They were like sharp blades that shot toward the source of the voice. Song Qingshu seized the opportunity to wrap Icy Snow with his clothes and asked worriedly, "How's sister-in-law?" Upon seeing him suddenly pouncing over, Icy Snow was a little angry. However, she understood that there was a reason for it. Besides, when she saw Song Qingshu's concerned gaze, the trace of anger in her vanished. She said weakly, "My body is so hot. I feel so uncomfortable." Upon seeing Icy Snow's watery eyes, Song Qingshu was taken aback. He thought, could sister-in-law have been drugged with some aphrodisiac? Picking leaves and flying flowers can injure people. How did you reach such a realm at such a young age? A black-clothed and masked man walked over in a sorry state. His clothes were torn in 2 places, and he probably didn't manage to dodge the attack completely. When Song Qingshu saw that there were only 2 wounds on his clothes and that his body wasn't injured, a strange glint flashed in his eyes. Your martial arts aren't bad either. Uncle, this person is so annoying. Icy Snow seemed to have lost all her strength. She leaned into Song Qingshu's embrace softly. Her voice was different from the usual lightness and had turned sweet and cloying. What kind of drug did you use on him? Song Qingshu glared at the black-clothed man. There were only 3 of them here, and Icy Snow was poisoned all of a sudden. Who else could it be but him? Song Qingshu was even more fearful when he thought about how the other party could poison him right under his nose. Hearing Song Qingshu's words, the black-clothed man was so angry that he laughed. What a shameless couple. You're having an affair in the wild, but you're accusing me instead. Upon hearing his words, Icy Snow's chest heaved up and down. Then, she spat out another mouthful of blood. Song Qingshu was confused due to his concern just now. When he spoke, he realized that he might have wronged the other party. But when he heard the other party's filthy words that worsened Icy Snow's injuries, his face turned cold. He gently placed Icy Snow against the tree and said, "Sister-in-law, wait for me to kill this person first, then I'll come back to treat your injuries." The black-clothed man didn't expect Song Qingshu to come so quickly. As soon as he finished speaking, a huge force attacked in front of him. He turned pale with fright and hurriedly circulated his power in his sleeves, wanting to dissipate the force of Song Qingshu's palm. Song Qingshu's furious palm strike was like a heavy blow. The black-clothed man was horrified to realize that he couldn't disperse it at all. In a hurry, he circulated his divine power to shift the force of Song Qingshu's palm strike to the side. With a bang, a bunch of withered flowers and leaves rose from the bushes. Song Qingshu looked at his palm. He didn't expect that his powerful strike would be diverted by the other party. The black-clothed man secretly wiped off his cold sweat and chuckled. Are you trying to silence me? Who exactly are you? The exchange just now made Song Qingshu understand that the other party wasn't someone easy to deal with. The other party's power was probably not inferior to Western poison Ouyang Feng. I heard that someone used the rumored paying someone back in their own coin here, so I came to take a look. Who knew that I would bump into such a scandal? Hee. The black-clothed man's tone was full of sarcasm. Although he also found out that Song Qingshu's martial arts were unfathomable, he had never been afraid of anyone for decades. How could he show weakness in front of Junior? Nonsense. Icy Snow was anxious. Her aura reversed again, and the 2 auras collided with each other. Her chest was extremely depressed. A charming young woman who has been suffering from a long drought, and a young man who is full of vigor. Haha, what a pair of uncle and sister-in-law. I won't disturb you anymore. I'll take my leave now. The black-clothed man was also fearful of Song Qingshu's martial arts, so he turned around and left. Where are you going? How could Song Qingshu let the black-clothed man leave just like that? He didn't know the black-clothed man's background. If the black-clothed man spread the news, it wouldn't matter if Song Qingshu was thick-skinned, but Icy Snow's reputation would be ruined. Although the black-clothed man turned around, he was already prepared. When he saw Song Qingshu pouncing at him, he quickly raised his palm to meet it. The 2 of them exchanged blows, and their strength shot out in all directions, turning the lush flowers into a mess. Hee, brat. Do you really want to take this old man's life? Only a dead man won't go around spouting nonsense. Want to kill this old man? Brat, you're overestimating yourself. Whether I'm overestimating myself or not, we'll know after we try. The 2 of them exchanged blows, and very soon they had exchanged dozens of moves. The black-clothed man noticed that Song Qingshu's moves were similar to some of the sect's moves that he was familiar with. Often, when a move was executed, it would change into another move in the blink of an eye, according to his own body shape. After fighting for so long, the black-clothed man had never seen Song Qingshu use a complete set of moves. Each move was the essence of each sect's moves, or according to the actual situation, Song Qingshu would change his attack angle and strength at any time. Could it be that this little thief is no longer restricted by his moves and has reached the legendary state of returning to simplicity? The more the black-clothed man fought, the more frightened he became. He thought that after another 200 to 300 moves, wouldn't he be controlled by him? However, this little thief was so young. Even if he started practicing martial arts in his mother's womb, it was impossible for him to reach such a state. This was because the black-clothed man was limited by Jianghu experience. How could he know that Song Qingshu was not a Jianghu person born and raised in this world? Song Qingshu, who came from the future, had read so many wuxia books, such as "No move is better than having a move, no sword is better than having a sword." Even the most ordinary person would be familiar with these phrases. Although they did not understand this state, everyone knew that there was such a state. After coming to this world, as his martial arts skills gradually increased, Song Qingshu verified the theories from his previous life and deliberately pursued in that direction. Naturally, he took fewer detours than most people in this world. The biggest characteristic of this world's Jianghu was that they valued their own things. For example, secretly learning martial arts was a big taboo, and masters would never pass their martial arts to disciples of other sections. Therefore, masters who grew up in this world could only rely on themselves to explore, and it was inevitable that they would take many detours. Out of thousands of talented people, only a few would be able to vaguely realize that realm after they grew old. After these dozens of moves, Song Qingshu secretly admired this black-clothed man's high level of martial arts. It was really rare. His mind filtered through the top experts of the Golden Book world. Suddenly, he remembered that his moves were often led astray by this black-clothed man. He could not help but blurt out, "Big Dipper, are you Morong Bo?" After his identity was exposed by Song Qingshu, the black-clothed man's eyes flashed with a hint of fierceness as he fiercely stared at Song Qingshu. His fake death was one of the biggest secrets of the Morong family. In order to hide it from the world, even his own son, Morong Fu, did not know about it. If he did not have misgivings about Song Qingshu's martial arts, he would have already rushed forward and killed the two of them. Your Excellency is young, but your knowledge is not shallow. After his identity was exposed, Morong Bo no longer quibbled and took off his mask. As an expert of this level, he naturally had the so-called arrogance of an expert. Yang Kai looked at Morong Bo's white sideburns and his weathered face. Song Qingshu lamented endlessly. This was the most notorious villain in the demigods and semi-devils. His martial arts might be high, but his so-called crafty plots and schemes were truly unrefined. After running around for dozens of years, it was just a small skirmish and had no effect on the great undertaking of restoring the nation. How could he be compared to Chung Kuan from the Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber? In his enemy, the Ming Dynasty, there were plenty of martial artists who were on par with him. Furthermore, there were Yang Dingtian and the others whose martial arts were far superior to him. But even so, he still used his intelligence and forcefully caused the colossal Ming Dynasty to nearly be annihilated. Ultimately, he only lost because of the main character's halo and not because of the battle. I'm indebted to your son in the past. I will not make things difficult for his father. As long as your Excellency promises not to speak nonsense, I will let today's matter go. What do you think? Song Qingshu understood clearly that with Morong Bo's martial arts, it wouldn't be a matter of a short period of time if he wanted to take Morong Bo's life. Furthermore, he would have to pay the price of suffering serious injuries. He still had to save icy snow. How could he have the energy to waste on Morong Bo? Your Excellency is so young, and your martial arts have actually reached such a level. This old man is truly in admiration. Morong Bo's expression turned gloomy. He thought that if Fu was as capable as Morong Bo, with the father and son working together, they would be able to go anywhere in the world. There is no need for him to conceal his identity. But could it be that your Excellency really thinks that this old man is afraid of you? Morong Bo was a senior of the martial world. How could his face be relied on when a junior gave him a path of survival because of his son? Furthermore, he still had his trump card that he hadn't used yet. He didn't think that he would lose to his opponent. Song Mao has long heard of the Murong family's Big Dipper and joint finger. However, this is not the right time and place. I will have to experience it another day. Seeing the hesitation on Murong Bo's face, Song Qingshu continued, Old mister, you have great ambitions. Do you really want to fight to the death with me, so casually? Murong Bo was shocked. He had always used the deeds of Emperor Gaozu of Han, Liu Bang, and Emperor Gaozu of Tang, Li Yuan to motivate himself. In order to revive the Yin kingdom, he would probably endure the humiliation without hesitation, let alone such a small matter. Kid, you're right. All right, this old man promises you. I will not tell anyone about today's matter. We will meet again. Murong Bo cupped his fists and said. Then, he turned around and disappeared into the darkness. He had always been secretly protecting Murong Fu. Today, because he was delayed by something on the road, he only arrived now. From the information he received, Murong Jingyue's martial arts were far above Murong Fu's. Worried that something might have happened to him, he quickly chased after him. Seeing that Murong Bo had left, Song Qingshu quickly went to Icy Snow's side. Seeing that she was already in a semi-conscious state, he quickly transferred some true energy into her body and asked anxiously, Sister-in-law, how are you? Icy Snow slowly opened her eyes. So it's Uncle. I feel so sleepy. I want to sleep. Chapter 347. Song Qingshu felt Icy Snow's pulse and couldn't help but turn gloomy. A slight carelessness would cause one to suffer from qi deviation. This would cause one's emotions to fluctuate and body temperature to rise sharply. This was because a large amount of heat would be produced, which was why cultivators had to open their clothes in an open space to let the heat dissipate in time. The heat produced by the body would increase exponentially. Right now, Icy Snow's skin was as hot as fire. Song Qingshu understood that her life would be in danger if she wasn't treated as soon as possible. Holding her in his arms, Song Qingshu circulated his true qi without any scruples and rushed back to the wooden hut. After returning to the wooden hut, Song Qingshu found a large bathtub. When he was about to add water into it, he was worried that the heat produced by the frozen jade bed would be forced back in her body, which could result in serious injuries or even death. Therefore, Song Qingshu didn't dare to add cold water into the bathtub to dissipate Icy Snow's heat. Instead, he planned to use warm water that was close to her body temperature and slowly lower the water's temperature to allow her body to adapt to it. When Song Qingshu was about to lift the bathtub to add water into the bathtub, a thought flashed through his mind. He recalled the time when he was practicing. With his current martial arts, it was impossible. Therefore, the only time when Icy Snow was poisoned was when he was eating. Song Qingshu hesitantly moved closer to the bathtub and sniffed it. As expected, he smelled a faint and strange smell. Ping Yizhi, that bastard. Song Qingshu cursed inwardly. He thought that it was Ping Yizhi's bad taste and didn't expect that he was preparing to use it to deal with Zhao Min. He quickly ran to the mountain stream outside the hut and fetched another bathtub of water. Now that his martial arts were profound, he didn't find it strenuous to carry a large bathtub filled with water as if he was walking on flat ground. After pouring the water into the bathtub and adding firewood under the bathtub, Song Qingshu came to Icy Snow's side. He was anxious when he saw that she had completely fainted. He hated that the fire wasn't big enough and that it wasn't ready yet. This was also because he was too anxious. He had just added the firewood. How could it be done so quickly? Song Qingshu waited for a moment and could no longer sit still. He reached his hands into the bathtub, risking his true qi to generate heat to help the firewood. After sensing that the temperature of the water in the bathtub was about right, Song Qingshu quickly ran to Icy Snow's side and said, "Sister-in-law, I'm sorry." He hurriedly removed her clothes. Song Qingshu was burning with impatience. He gently placed her in the bathtub and placed his palm on her back. He sent his true qi into her body to help her clear the evil poison in her body. In the past 2 years, Song Qing-shu had encountered several women who had been drugged by aphrodisiacs, especially Shuang, who had left a deep impression on him. At that time, he carried Shuang and ran all over the city. Only then was he lucky enough to find human milk to cure her of the poison. After the incident, Song Qing-shu was terrified. What if he encountered such a thing again in the future and couldn't find it? He couldn't be like he ties Ho every single time, using his own body to detoxify the girl. This world wasn't like his previous world, where the concept of chastity was very important. If he were to take advantage of a woman's perilous state through that method, how would he be any different from Tian Boguang and Yun Zhonghe? Therefore, when Song Qing-shu had nothing to do, he had been secretly pondering how to detoxify a woman in a similar situation in the future. Aphrodisiacs weren't poisons, but they were something that would wantonly magnify a person's desire. Therefore, it wasn't something that could be alleviated by medicine. Song Qing-shu cultivated the supreme secret technique of the Tantra sect, so he had a deep understanding of the principles between men and women. He understood the principle that it was better to let it go. When a man and a woman were together, the aphrodisiac would detoxify itself. Song Qing-shu, who came from the future world, was very knowledgeable and understood how to let it go. Therefore, he blindly came up with a method that used internal energy to guide the aphrodisiac with water. Of course, Song Qing-shu, who came from his previous life, deeply understood the principle of combining theory with practice. In order to verify this method, Queen Tong in the Forbidden City suffered. During that time, Queen Tong was often fed aphrodisiac by Song Qing-shu, who had deteriorated from evil. In the beginning, all the methods were bound to fail, so Song Qing-shu had to personally detoxify little Tong. During that period of time, he accumulated a lot of experience, and Song Qing-shu finally succeeded. However, poor little Tong had been through the intertwining nightmare and happiness. She was completely ruined by him. Whenever her body came in contact with a man, she would go limp and her juices would flow. The evil Song Qing-shu later recovered his sanity with the help of Dongfang Muxue, Zhou Zhiruo, and Xia Qingqing. However, he still remembered the things in the harem. When he thought of little Tong, Song Qing-shu secretly apologized. Before he left the capital, he even told Dongfang Muxue to treat her and her family well when he was pretending to be Kangxi to make up for what he owed her. Although Dongfang Muxue agreed readily, her smile was very weird at that time. I don't know if she will really do it. A thought suddenly flashed across Song Qing-shu's mind. However, he quickly calmed down and concentrated on detoxifying icy snow. At this moment, in the inner palace of the Forbidden City thousands of miles away, little Tong was lying on the dragon couch with blurred eyes and messy clothes. Her body twitched from time to time. Dongfang Muxue stroked her smooth body contentedly. This girl is so soft, as if she has no bones. Her whole body is softer than water. Song Qing-shu is really lucky with women. But I don't know how that brat and Xia Qingqing are progressing now. The imperial court's troops are going to be dispatched. Song Qing-shu guided icy snow to let the efficacy of the drug seep out of her pores with his essential qi and then gradually dissipate into the warm water around her. Icy snow's body temperature finally dropped. Song Qing-shu wiped the cold sweat on his forehead, thinking that he had finally detoxified her. However, detoxification was only the first step. The internal injuries caused by qigong deviation hadn't been treated yet. Moreover, she was drugged by the aphrodisiac and was disturbed by Murong Bo's sound waves mixed with internal force. What kind of damned internal force did Lin Qiaoying invent? She vomited blood and suffered qigong deviation at every turn. Song Qing-shu was extremely annoyed and couldn't help cursing in his heart. It wasn't difficult to save icy snow. By using the blissful Zen and dual cultivation method, not only could icy snow recover, but it could also improve her internal force. Although Song Qing-shu would lose a lot of essential qi, his essential qi could be cultivated again. Compared to icy snow, it didn't matter at all. However, Song Qingshu understood that icy snow would never agree to it. In the eyes of the ancient people, losing one's chastity was more important than one's life. Although Icy Snow was a child of the pugilistic world and wasn't like other girls in the boudoir, she still missed her late husband, Hui Dao. She was soft on the outside, but tough on the inside, so she would never do anything that would let him down. Song Qingshu knew Icy Snow's character very well. He could imagine that if he used that method to save her, she wouldn't blame him after she woke up, but she would choose to leave him forever. Chapter 348. Song Qingshu was caught in a dilemma. At this moment, he couldn't help but recall a famous joke from his previous life. A young girl angrily rebuked a villain. "Even if you get my body, don't even think about getting my heart." As a result, the villain burst into laughter. "Why would I want your heart?" Then he pounced on her like a hungry tiger pouncing on a sheep. Song Qingshu deeply agreed with that back then. But now that his status had gradually risen and his martial arts had reached the pinnacle, his outlook and state of mind were naturally different from before. Compared to her body, he could now better understand how precious a woman's heart was. He obtained Icy Snow's body, but the price was to lose her heart forever. Song Qingshu sighed deeply. How could he take advantage of her perilous state? But was he going to watch her die before his eyes? He recalled the time when he healed Icy Snow with his god-illuminating vital qi in Jingzhou City. It felt like it was just yesterday. He didn't expect that after such a long time, they would be separated forever. It's a pity that my god-illuminating vital qi was dissolved by the blissful Diana inner force. Otherwise, I could still heal her with my god-illuminating vital qi. Song Qingshu was filled with hatred and anger. He slammed his palm on the table, shattering it into pieces. An idea flashed across Song Qingshu's mind. He suddenly recalled the concept of virtual machines in computers in his previous life. A virtual machine in an operating system could simulate a computer's hardware and run an entirely different operating system. For example, installing Linux in a Windows system and a virtual Windows operating system in a Mac system. Since several operating systems with different or even conflicting principles could run perfectly on the same computer, why couldn't the interforce work? The more Song Qingshu thought about it, the more excited he became. As long as he used the principle of virtual machines to open up a small world in his Dantian and simulate a new Dantian and Meridian system, wouldn't he be able to circulate his god-illuminating vital qi in a virtual Meridian system? Although the process was extremely dangerous, Song Qingshu's current martial arts cultivation was extraordinary. He was also very familiar with Meridian system, so it wasn't impossible for him to succeed. Moreover, this little bit of risk was nothing to save Icy Snow. Without hesitation, Song Qingshu sat cross-legged on the bed and assumed the posture of 3 flowers above one's prominence. He closed his eyes and began to open up a new Dantian, simulating the Meridian system. His face alternated between red and purple. It was obvious that the process was extremely painful. Song Qingshu came from the future, and his thoughts were not shackled by the concepts of martial arts in this world. Over the course of thousands of years, forget about trying to simulate a new Meridian system in his Dantian region. No one in the world of martial artists had even thought about it. Even someone as powerful as Dugu Qiubai, or a martial arts grandmaster like Zhang Sanfeng, had never entertained such thoughts. Song Qingshu's attempt this time, if successful, would completely open up a whole new domain in martial arts. Thousands of years later, the history books would judge fairly that Song Qingshu's contribution in the history of martial arts would not be inferior to Shaolin's Damo ancestor, Huashan's Chuntuan ancestor, or Wudong's Zhang Sanfeng. When Song Qingshu first entered this chaotic world, he searched everywhere for martial arts treasures. But to his regret, he found that all kinds of martial arts manuals in his memory had been obtained by the main character of the original work. At that time, he even lamented that the main character of the original work had been blessed by fate. But how could Song Qingshu know that since he was chosen by fate to enter this chaotic world, he naturally had the protection of fate? Otherwise, he would have died 800 times over in all these perilous situations. If it were an ordinary person, they would have died 800 times already. Yet, he was able to come out of it safely every single time, creating a space in his dantian to simulate a new dantian and meridian system had already touched upon the taboo of life. A slight carelessness would cause one to be reduced to ashes. This was the so-called divine punishment. When Song Qing-shu opened his eyes, a hint of joy appeared on his face. He had actually succeeded, cultivating the godly radiating scripture in the virtual meridian system. The familiar feeling of the godly radiating qi had returned. Hastily, he carried icy snow out of the bathtub and found that her body had changed from its previous scorching temperature to a bone-chilling cold. Presumably, the serious internal injuries had caused her true qi to be blocked, resulting in a lack of qi and blood. How could Song Qing-shu dare to hesitate? He gently placed her on the bed and hurriedly used the godly radiating qi to clear up her blocked meridians and the chaotic true qi in her body. The godly radiating scripture and Nine Yang manual were both the strongest and most yang internal energy in the world. As the warm and genial internal energy entered Icy Snow's body, her ice-cold skin slowly regained its rosy color, and her breathing also gradually stabilized. When Icy Snow's drooping eyelashes slightly trembled, Song Qing-shu knew that she had woken up. He said softly, "I hope sister-in-law can forgive me. Just now, sister-in-law was drugged and seriously injured, so I acted in an emergency." In a few words, Song Qing-shu roughly explained what happened just now. He told her how she was poisoned, how he let Murongbo go, and so on. Flat finger. Murong Jingwe is really shameless. Icy Snow noticed that she was completely naked. For a moment, she didn't know how to face Song Qing-shu, so she could only keep her eyes closed. This person's martial arts are high, and his schemes are deep. It's really rare. Thinking that sister-in-law still wants to seek revenge against him, I really can't feel at ease. Song Qing-shu knitted his brows and suddenly noticed that Icy Snow's heart was beating faster. Being smart, he quickly realized that she must be feeling extremely awkward right now. He hastily pulled over the clothes beside him and said, "Sister-in-law, there's a reason for what happened just now. I'll help you put on your clothes." Icy Snow suddenly felt annoyed and blurted out, "Sister-in-law, every time you open your mouth, it's so annoying." Song Qing-shu was stunned at first, but he soon became delighted. "Then I won't call you sister-in-law anymore. I'll call you Icy Snow." As soon as Icy Snow said that, she realized that it was inappropriate. She opened her beautiful eyes and glared at him. "No, we'll still call each other uncle and sister-in-law. It's just that after you take off my clothes, don't call me sister-in-law anymore. I'll be very embarrassed." Thinking that she was completely naked in front of him, yet he kept calling her sister-in-law, Icy Snow felt extremely annoyed. Is there really such an uncle and sister-in-law in this world? There's still a future? Hearing that she seemed to be referring to something else, Song Qing-shu was overjoyed. Suddenly, his vision turned black and he fainted. It turned out that Song Qing-shu had spent the entire night sparring with a top expert like Murongbo. He had to use his internal energy to heat up the cold water, expend all his effort to open up his dantian, and finally, he had to use his true energy to heal Icy Snow. He was already close to his body's limit. Now that he saw that Icy Snow was fine and relaxed, he encountered something shocking and joyous, so he naturally fainted. "Sai, it's not what you think," Icy Snow said anxiously. It turned out that what she meant was that if she was seriously injured again in the future, Song Qing-shu would have to take off her clothes to heal, so he shouldn't call her sister-in-law anymore. It wasn't the kind of good thing that Song Qing-shu understood. Before she could explain, Song Qing-shu fainted in her arms. Icy Snow had a certain understanding of his unruly nature and thought that he wanted to take advantage of her. She angrily pulled him, but he didn't react at all, which made her panic. "So you're too tired." Hearing his steady breathing, Icy Snow heaved a sigh of relief. After she hurriedly put on her clothes, she placed Song Qing-shu on the bed. Looking at Song Qing-shu's handsome face that was filled with exhaustion, Icy Snow was touched. Although she was almost unconscious just now, she was not completely unaware. At that time, when Song Qingshu was in a dilemma, he was irritated and unconsciously talking to himself. In a daze, she also heard 70 to 80% of what he said. Gently stroking Song Qingshu's eyebrows with her fingertips, Icy Snow faintly sighed, "Uncle, you really know me well." Chapter 349. It turned out that when Icy Snow heard about Song Qingshu's dual cultivation method, she was also shocked. Although she had a good impression of Song Qingshu, she was more concerned about Hui Dao. She wasn't willing to commit herself to him just to survive in this world. It was a pity that Icy Snow was severely injured and couldn't speak at all. She could only make a decision secretly. If Song Qingshu really used that method to save her, she would accept it calmly and treat it as ending their ill-fated relationship. After that, she would leave and sever all ties with him once and for all. However, after listening to Song Qingshu's mutterings, Icy Snow finally understood how well he understood her. When she heard that Song Qingshu wanted to re-establish his dantian, how could she not know about the dangers involved? Although Song Qingshu didn't mention how dangerous it was, as a martial artist, how could she not know? He could have saved her easily, but he chose the most dangerous method. Icy Snow could feel his sincere friendship. Her fingertips caressed Song Qingshu's cheek, and her heart gradually softened. When Song Qingshu woke up, he found Icy Snow lying on the bed. Under the candlelight, her pure and flawless face was glistening. He couldn't help but reach out to touch her face. Little did he know that his movement would awaken Icy Snow, who was sleeping lightly. "You're awake?" Icy Snow looked at him in surprise. For some reason, she subconsciously didn't call him uncle this time. "Yeah, how long have I been asleep?" Song Qingshu looked out of the window worriedly, fearing that he would fall into a coma for half a month. If that happened, it would ruin everything. "It's not dawn yet. Uncle only slept for about 2 hours," Icy Snow said softly. Song Qingshu stretched his body and felt the vital energy in his body continue to circulate. Although it wasn't as abundant as when he was at his peak, it was growing and multiplying endlessly. It wouldn't take long for him to recover. "Sister-in-law, before I fainted, did you—" Recalling what he heard before he fainted, Song Qingshu asked tentatively. "I don't want to hear it. Don't talk about it, uncle." Icy Snow quickly pressed her finger on his lips and blushed. "All right, I won't say anything if you want me to." Song Qingshu felt a cool sensation on his lips. Seeing her occasionally revealing a seductive look, his heart was filled with pity. Icy Snow retracted her finger awkwardly, and the room fell into an inexplicable silence. Song Qingshu was the first to speak. "Sister-in-law, you haven't mastered the Jade Women's Heart Sutra. I don't feel at ease letting you chase after Murong Jingyuer alone." Icy Snow pursed her lips into a smile. "Are you willing to chase after Murong Jingyuer with me, uncle?" "Yes." Song Qingshu almost blurted it out, but when he thought of the situation in Shandong, his lips opened and closed slightly, but in the end he did not say it. "Don't worry. I know Uncle has important matters to attend to. Why would he ask you to accompany me?" Icy Snow smiled gently. Song Qingshu let out a long sigh. "But I really don't want you to take the risk alone." Icy Snow's eyelashes trembled slightly. She seemed to hesitate for a long time before saying softly, "Then I won't go." "What?" Song Qingshu looked at her in disbelief. "Uncle, you seem to have important matters to attend to, but you've suffered quite a serious internal injury from saving me. How can I bear to let you return to Shandong alone? If you don't mind my weak martial arts, I want to take care of you along the way." Icy Snow's face was so red that water was about to drip out. She didn't dare to look him in the eye at all. "Why would I mind? Ha! I couldn't ask for more." "Ha!" Song Qingshu said incoherently. Icy Snow feigned anger and said, "Uncle, you're really teasing me." No, absolutely not." Song Qingshu waved his hand with a serious expression, but he was inwardly overjoyed. Icy Snow's expression suddenly changed. "But uncle, you have to promise me one thing. Agitated, Song Qingshu blurted out, "Don't talk about one thing. I'll promise you even if it's 1,000 or 10,000 things." Icy Snow rolled her eyes at him. "Stop bragging. If I ask you to accompany me to chase after Murong Jingwe, will you agree? Look at how scared you are." Icy Snow chuckled when she saw the awkward expression on Song Qingshu's face. "I just want Uncle to promise to accompany me to track down Murong Jingyue's whereabouts in the future when you're free." Of course. Judging from Icy Snow's words, Song Qingshu was ecstatic that she wouldn't leave after sending him to Shandong. Also, Icy Snow suddenly put on a bashful expression. "What else?" Song Qingshu asked hurriedly. "Nothing else." Icy Snow shook her head. She originally wanted Song Qingshu to promise to treat her courteously along the way and not do anything inappropriate. But after hesitating for a moment, she swallowed her words back. Perhaps in her heart, after experiencing so many things, Song Qingshu had already proved that he was a gentleman and didn't need her to remind him. Or perhaps she was worried that her words were too cold to him and might hurt his feelings. When Song Qingshu saw her tired face, he quickly got off the bed and said, "Sister-in-law, hurry up and rest on the bed. Your bones are weak and your internal injuries have just healed." As he spoke, he helped her up. "It's fine. You've exhausted a lot of your internal energy, so you should rest." Aya. It turned out that Icy Snow had been lying on the bed for a long time, so her legs were numb when she got up. She couldn't stand steadily and fell into Song Qingshu's arms. "You can't even stand steadily, but it's fine." Song Qingshu smiled, carried her horizontally, and gently put her on the bed. "Sister-in-law, rest well. My internal energy is profound." Meditating for a while is equivalent to ordinary people sleeping. Icy Snow grunted softly and lay on the bed. She quietly looked at Song Qingshu, who was meditating not far away, and her eyelids gradually sank. It gradually began to rain outside the window. After an unknown period of time, Song Qingshu suddenly sensed something. He opened his eyes and looked at the door. Soon, there was a knock on the door. "May I ask if the owner of this place is here? We, husband and wife, rushed here overnight. We didn't want to encounter a sudden rainstorm, so we want to borrow your place to take shelter from the rain." The man's voice was full of vigor. He must have a certain level of attainment in internal energy. Icy Snow also woke up and looked at Song Qingshu in puzzlement. Song Qingshu gestured for her not to get up and walked to the door. He conveniently put down the bedroom curtain to block Icy Snow's figure. After opening the door, a couple in their early 30s stood outside. The man was wearing a black shirt and a black bonnet. A long sword was sheathed in a black scabbard around his waist. The woman in white beside him had a scarlet ribbon around her waist, and a long sword in a white scabbard was hung on the red ribbon. The man was handsome, while the woman was elegant and pretty. Song Qingshu secretly praised them. Seeing that they were obviously soaked in the rain, he quickly invited them in. The two people outside the door were also surprised to see Song Qingshu. They thought that the person who opened the door would be a villager, but who knew that it would be such a distinguished and elegant person. They immediately became vigilant. However, the husband and wife were skilled and bold. After a slight hesitation, they cupped their fists and walked in. Those who read books, please join the group. 337294925. Chapter 350. Thank you for letting us into the house to shelter from the rain. Although the man in black was a little suspicious of Song Qingshu's identity, he still said politely. As the rain had soaked her clothes, the woman in white hid behind her husband, intentionally or unintentionally, to block Song Qingshu's line of sight. What kind of person was Song Qingshu? He immediately understood what the other party was thinking. He could not help but criticize in his heart. "You're acting like I want to see you. My Icy Snow is much prettier than you." Song Qingshu's evaluation was most likely not very objective. The woman in white's appearance could indeed only be considered delicate and pretty, but the elegant and quiet temperament she had was very rare among ordinary women. Sensing the vigilance of the two, Song Qingshu could not be bothered to welcome them with a smile. He said indifferently, "There's firewood and a stove in the house next door. You can start a fire to drive away the cold. Please help yourselves as long as you don't enter this house. My wife doesn't like to be disturbed." With that said, he turned and walked into the house. The husband and wife looked at each other. The woman in white whispered, "Senior brother, this person is so cold." The man in black nodded slightly. "Junior sister, this person's hands are like jade. There's no trace of labor, so he might not be the owner of this house. It's best to be careful." The two of them took a brazier and started a fire in the house. The woman in white looked into the house and saw that Song Ching-shu had entered the house and closed the door tightly. He probably would not come out. Her drenched coat stuck to her body was extremely uncomfortable, so she whispered a few words in her husband's ear before taking off her coat. She only wore her underwear and sat by the fire to warm herself. The man in black hastily set up a rack and hung his clothes on it. If the owner of this house suddenly came out, it could temporarily block him for a while. It was enough for his wife to put on her clothes. After Song Ching-shu entered the house, Icy Snow said softly, "Uncle, you're taking advantage of me again." "Of course not." Song Ching-shu knew what she was referring to and quickly explained, "Wouldn't it be more troublesome if I told them that we're uncle and sister-in-law?" Icy Snow thought about it and agreed. Now that the two of them were in the same room, if Song Ching-shu were to speak about their relationship, it would only be more unclear. "I can't win you in an argument." Icy Snow sighed softly and no longer felt conflicted. "How's the recovery of your quintessential essence?" Song Ching-shu replied, "Sister-in-law, you don't have to worry about me. Sister-in-law's internal injury has just healed, so you should rest more. Go to sleep, I'll watch over you." Icy Snow gazed deeply at him and suddenly asked, "Did you close the door?" "It's done." Song Ching-shu subconsciously glanced at the door. He was worried that Icy Snow's reputation would be tarnished if someone saw what was going on inside, so he specifically bolted the door. Icy Snow had a concerned look on her face. "We still have to hurry on with our journey tomorrow morning. We don't know how dangerous this trip to Shandong will be. How can Uncle recover his spirit just by meditating?" "Uncle, why don't you sleep on the bed?" "I'm almost done sleeping anyway." Song Ching-shu shook his head and refused with a smile. How can a man sleep on a bed and a woman sleep on a chair? Knowing that he wouldn't agree, Icy Snow hesitated for a moment and said in an inaudible voice, "Uncle, you can actually sleep on the bed." "Ah." Song Ching-shu was taken aback at first, but he quickly revealed a pleasantly surprised look. Icy Snow blushed and quickly said, "Don't let your imagination run wild, Uncle. It's just that this bed is big enough for two people. Besides, it's not like we haven't slept together before. I know you're a gentleman." He recalled the time when his meridians were broken and Icy Snow accompanied him to seek medical treatment. At night, he was attacked by the cold air on the ground and felt unbearable pain all over his body. Icy Snow disregarded her reputation and asked him to sleep on her bed. Although they were separated by a blanket, the abject Song Ching-shu felt that they had a very close relationship. However, there was a reason for that. Although the two of them traveled together, they didn't have the chance to sleep on the same bed anymore. Song Ching-shu understood that their relationship was ambiguous and full of unclear meaning. However, Icy Snow had always scrupulously abided by her reputation and didn't allow him to do anything inappropriate. Of course, he treated her several times because he had no choice and she was powerless to stop him. In the past, the two of them were as beautiful as the sun and moon. Icy Snow allowed him to sleep on her bed out of pity and chivalry, and it didn't cause any ripples in her heart. But now, their relationship was very different. This time, Icy Snow would have to muster 10 times the courage to let him sleep on her bed again. "Forget it. I'm afraid of doing something blasphemous to you." Song Ching-shu changed his attitude and didn't have the usual cynicism on his face. As soon as she said that, Icy Snow opened up her heart. When she heard Song Ching-shu's words, she blushed and spat. "It's fine if you don't want to come." She then turned her back to him. Song Ching-shu's heart skipped a beat. After having two thoughts for a long time, he finally walked to the bed and laid down beside her. "I want to take off my clothes." Don't worry, sister-in-law. I've always been confident in you, uncle. Otherwise, I wouldn't have let you sleep on my bed. Icy Snow chuckled. Song Qing-shu was touched and enjoyed the rare tranquility. He didn't know when it started, but he silently counted the number of breaths Icy Snow took per minute. Knock, knock, knock. At this moment, someone knocked on the door again. Master, are you home? I'm passing by with my daughter. Can you come in to take shelter from the rain? Song Qing-shu was annoyed at the sudden noise, but Icy Snow shuddered when she heard the voice. She was obviously nervous. Sister-in-law, what's wrong? Song Qing-shu asked hurriedly. Icy Snow's lips tightened. It's him. Who is he? Song Qing-shu's anger surged. Could it be that this person bullied sister-in-law? I'm going to take his life right now. What are you thinking about? Icy Snow grabbed his wrist and rolled her eyes at him. This person is a good friend of yours and Big Brother whose. It's just that I don't want to see him in this situation. Song Qing-shu suddenly came to his senses. Meow and phone? Icy Snow nodded and made an almost inaudible sound of acknowledgement. I heard that this person used to call himself, I'm the only one in the world. I'm invincible throughout the ages. Song Qing-shu sneered. I don't believe that he can defeat me. Sister-in-law, you don't have to be afraid of him. He only gave that nickname to provoke Big Brother, who into a duel with him. He didn't mean anything else, Icy Snow said with a smile. Everyone says that Golden Buddha Meower and Fong is a dull person, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. If he only called himself invincible throughout the ages, I'm afraid that before he could provoke Big Brother, the 5 greats of the Central Plains, invincible east of Blackwood Cliff, and the top experts from major sects like Shaolin and Wudong would have already come knocking on his door. However, he added, I'm the only one in the world. I'm afraid that the top experts with status would think that he's an arrogant person and wouldn't play along with him. Even if ordinary experts from the pugilistic world came knocking on his door, they would be far from being his match. I see. It seems that Meow-and-Fing's thoughts aren't simple. Song Qing-shu nodded, but a strange feeling rose in his heart. If he really had such thoughts, why would he allow his wife to be lured away by Tian Guinong's flowery words? Thinking of Namlan's wonderful body, Song Qing-shu's body heated up. Meow and Fong was really unlucky that such a gift in bed had been enjoyed by 2 other men. Icy Snow looked strangely at Song Qing-shu. Seeing the strange expression on his face, she could not help but ask, What are you thinking about, uncle? Song Qing-shu blushed and quickly shook his head. Nothing. Oh, that's right. Sister-in-law, since you're not afraid of his martial arts, what are you afraid of? This time, it was Icy Snow's turn to blush. She lowered her head and said shyly, That day in Songzhou City, Meow Rin Fong and Big Brother, who hit it off the moment they met and became close friends. I was also there, although I dare not compare myself to the 3 heroes of Feng Chun. The 3 of us did have the intention to become sworn brothers. It's just that I didn't expect what happened later. Song Qing-shu knew that she was talking about the duel between Hu Yi-dao and Meow Rin Fong when they exchanged weapons. Who knew that their weapons had been smeared with poison, causing Hu Yi-dao to be poisoned to death. He quickly patted the back of her hand to comfort her. Icy Snow discreetly withdrew her hand and said softly, Speaking of which, although Meow and Fong and Big Brother who didn't become sworn brothers, their relationship is much closer than that of a cheapskate brother like you. If he sees us like this, how do you want me to explain? Song Qing-shu anxiously said, What cheapskate brother? It was Fear who took his father's place to become sworn brothers with me. Icy Snow snorted. It's fine if you don't mention this. At that time, Fear and I really thought that you admired Big Brother, who, and wanted to become sworn brothers with him. We were even filled with gratitude towards you. Now that I think about it, I'm afraid that you had ulterior motives. Song Qing-shu smiled bitterly. Sister-in-law saw through me. Under the candlelight, Icy Snow's pretty face was even more beautiful than usual. Just as Song Qing-shu was about to say something, Icy Snow hurriedly made a shushing gesture. It turned out that when the woman in white heard the knocking on the door, she hurriedly put on her clothes. The husband and wife went to open the door and saw a tall and thin middle-aged man with a sallow complexion and a sickly face standing at the door. He was carrying a fair little girl in his arms. The little girl's big black eyes were curiously sizing up the husband and wife in front of her. The first thing the man in black noticed was the man's hand that was carrying the little girl. His palm was as big as a cattail leaf fan, and his bones could be seen. If he wasn't mistaken, it should be a hand that excelled in using a sword. What the woman in white noticed was that the father and daughter were holding an umbrella. The little girl's body wasn't wet, but the father's back, arms, and other large areas were drenched. As a mother, she could empathize with them and quickly welcome the father and daughter in. "Thank you, husband and wife. I'm sorry to disturb you." Upon entering the house, Meow and Fong felt a gust of warm air and quickly thanked them. Only then did the woman in white realize that she wasn't the owner of the house. She quickly explained awkwardly, "We're also passing by to take shelter from the rain. Master and his wife are in the house." Meow and Fong was surprised and quickly came to the door of the house. He said in a clear voice, "I'm just passing by. If it's inconvenient for Master to let me in to take shelter from the rain, just say the word and I won't make things difficult for you. However, this daughter of mine is still young and weak. She can't withstand the cold. I hope Master can allow her to stay in the house. I'll be very grateful. Lana doesn't want Daddy to get wet in the rain. Lana wants to stay with Daddy." The little girl pulled Meow Renfeng's sleeve and said coquettishly. Song Qing-shu smiled at icy snow and said in a low voice, "This Meow Renfeng possesses peerless martial arts, yet he is so courteous to ordinary farmers. He is truly a righteous and benevolent person. Furthermore, his love for his daughter is truly touching. Big Brother Meow is indeed a rare gentleman in this world." Icy Snow nodded approvingly. "Quickly answer him so that the little girl outside won't worry about her daddy." Song Qing-shu turned his head and deliberately said in a rough voice, "Please help yourself." "Thank you, Your Excellency." Meow Renfeng's gloomy face showed a rare hint of happiness as he cupped his fists. "Thank you, Uncle." Little Rulin was also very sensible. She smiled and shouted through the door. Song Qing-shu trembled and looked at Icy Snow with a strange expression. "Why does this little girl call me uncle just like you? Both of them are so soul-stirring. Those who read books, please join the group. 337294925. Chapter 351. Hearing Song Qing-shu's words, Icy Snow looked at him with disdain. Are you serious? She's such a young girl, and you're thinking about that?" Song Qing-shu's face turned hot, and he laughed awkwardly. "No way, I'm just saying." He thought to himself, "How many times have I slept with this little Loli's mother? Why would I have any thoughts about her daughter?" But Meow Rulin's voice was really cute when she was young. "Uncle, I realized that my previous evaluation of you was wrong," Icy Snow said thoughtfully. "What's wrong?" Song Qing-shu asked. Icy Snow chuckled. "I feel that Uncle's hobbies aren't normal. You like little girls and—" She blushed and suddenly couldn't continue. "You like a gentle big sister like sister-in-law?" Song Qing-shu leaned over with a drooling face. Icy Snow spat. "Don't talk nonsense. The people outside are all experts with sharp ears and eyes. Don't let them hear it." "So what if they hear it?" Song Qing-shu smirked. "In their hearts, they think that we're a couple from the countryside. Everyone in the pugilistic world cares about their reputation. Who would deliberately listen to the secrets of a couple's boudoir?" However, Song Qing-shu knew that Icy Snow was shy and was worried that he would annoy her. So, he obediently lowered his voice. "Who's your husband?" Icy Snow used one hand to block Song Qing-shu's approaching body as she scolded him. In the living room, Meow Rulin and Meow Rulin thanked him and found a clean place to sit down. Little Rulin was still young and couldn't help but doze off. Soon, she leaned on her father and fell asleep. The black-clothed man saw Meow Renfeng sitting there quietly, but his body emitted wisps of white steam. He knew that Meow Renfeng was using his internal energy to dry his clothes and couldn't help but admire him. Recalling that Meow Renfeng said that his surname was Meow, he couldn't help but think of a famous person in the pugilistic world. He quickly cupped his hands and asked, "Your Excellency, are you Meow Renfeng, the great hero Meow?" Meow and Feng opened his eyes and glanced at the two before replying in a deep voice. That's me. May I know who you are? I'm Xuanzu Zhuang Shiqing, and this is my wife Minru. So you're the famous black and white dual swords. Nice to meet you. Both of you walk the pugilistic world with chivalry first. Meow and Feng was slightly moved. The black and white dual swordsman came from one of the Wudong 5 temples, Shangqing Temple. The high-clarity monastery had always produced many experts. The previous sect master, Taoist Fu Ti, had a cultivation base that was not beneath that of Shaolin Temple's Abbot Miaoti. Now, in order to focus on cultivating martial arts, he had already passed the position of monastery master to his eldest apprentice brother, Taoist Heaven Void. Taoist Heaven Void's prime, clear sword art was unparalleled in the martial world. In recent years, he rarely showed himself. Her second apprentice brother, Taoist priest Chong Su, was fortunate enough to receive the personal guidance of Zhang Sanfeng. His mastery of the Tai Chi sword had reached the point of perfection, and he was one of the few famous swordsmen in the present age. Although it was rumored that he had suffered a crushing defeat at the hands of a junior on Mount Tai, Miao and Feng did not believe it. In the past, when he was roaming the Jianghu, he met Taoist Chong Su by chance. The two of them had a sword duel, but it was a draw even after hundreds of moves. Miao and Feng felt that with her opponent's attainments in swordsmanship, how could he be defeated by a young man in one move? His third junior brother, Lingxiu. He was not as good as his two senior brothers, but he was a master. Even secular disciples like the black and white dual swords had made a name for themselves in Jianghu. Together with Feng Wanli of the Snow Mountain sect and Mei Fanggu of the Plum Blossom sect, they were known as the Wind Tiger and Cloud Dragon, the 4 wonders of the north. Of course, Shangqing Temple also had scum of the Wulin world, such as that Taoist Jiangsu in the past. His martial arts skill was very high, and he wreaked havoc in the Jianghu for several years, but nobody was able to stop him. Until he ran into Murong Bo, and he died under the opponents, giving him a taste of his own medicine. Miao and Feng and the black and white dual swords exchanged pleasantries. Suddenly, she asked, "You and your wife are in a hurry. What are you doing?" The black and white swords glanced at each other. Shiqing cupped his fists and said, "Hero Miao has always taken the fight against the Qing dynasty as his duty. We, husband and wife, admire you very much, so we don't need to hide it from you. This time, we were invited by the 4 strange southern sect to go to Shandong to help the Golden Snake Camp." Miao and Feng smiled. "What a coincidence. I am also going to Shandong to help the Golden Snake Camp." It turned out that after Dongfang Muxue had disguised herself as Kangxi, she had started to build momentum according to the plan. She had spread the news that the army had annihilated the Golden Snake Camp in advance. By now, everyone in Jianghu knew that the Manchurian Qing Imperial Court had sent out 100,000 troops to completely annihilate the Golden Snake Camp in Shandong. Xia Qingqing had contacted her trusted subordinates in the Golden Snake Camp. She pushed for the leaders of each mountain to choose a new leader. But the mountain leaders have been fighting for years. Their hatred for the Golden Snake King was deep, although they had no choice but to agree to elect a new leader for the Golden Snake King. No one wanted the leader to be supported by their enemies. After endless debate, they finally reached a consensus. They would send out invitations to all the heroes in the world. They would choose a capable person to be the new Golden Snake King. The leaders of each mountain had a good plan. From their point of view, the new Golden Snake King came from outside. He had no foundation in the Golden Snake Camp. They could use him to get through this crisis. Even if they let him stay, he would be a commander without an army. He would not be able to touch the interests of the mountain leaders. Although Xia Qingqing wholeheartedly wanted Song Qingshu to become the new Golden Snake King, her superior status came from Yuan Qingji. Now that Yuan Qingji was dead, she actually did not have much power. The mountain leaders had their own plans. She could only play a limited role. Although it was different from what he had expected, Song Qingshu did not mind. With his current martial arts skills and Xia Qingqing's help, he was confident that he could compete for the new Golden Snake King. The Golden Snake Camp had sent out invitations. It caused all the heroes to become restless and rush to Shandong. There was no lack of ambitious people in the world. Some people were like Song Qing-shu. They saw the strength of the Golden Snake Camp and wanted to take advantage of it to achieve something great. However, there were others. Because the Golden Snake Camp had always been a rebel army against the Manchus, they extended a helping hand. The black and white swords were such people. They did not have any ambition. They were driven by their chivalrous feelings. As for Miao and Feng, she was a descendant of the roaming king's 4 bodyguards. She naturally took the fight against the Manchus. The corrupt officials who had been assassinating the Manchus and harming the common people immediately left for Shandong when they heard that the Manchus wanted to exterminate the Golden Snake Camp. Miao and Feng had learned her lesson when her brother's family was exterminated by Shang Jiaming. She was worried that her enemies would come looking for her again. She did not dare to leave Miao Ruolin at home. Seeing that they had the same goal, the black and white swords and Miao and Feng were overjoyed. They chatted happily. Suddenly, the door was pushed open. 2 tall and sturdy black-bearded old men walked in. When they saw the situation in the room, they felt that both the black and white swords and Miao and Feng were experts. Their eyes were immediately filled with vigilance. Who was the owner of this room? We brothers would like to take shelter from the rain, the black-bearded old man said. Minro saw the 2 men push open the door and enter without any trace of politeness. She subconsciously felt unhappy. However, she had always been weak and could not do anything to offend people. Even though she was annoyed, she did not show it. She hid behind Shi Qing and waited for her husband to deal with it. The owner of this room is resting in the room. I don't think he will mind. Please help yourself. Thinking of the impatience in Song Qingshu's tone when dealing with Miao and Feng, Shi Qing did not want to disturb him. He simply agreed on his behalf. The 2 old men grunted. They did not thank him. They found a corner and sat down. With the sudden addition of the 2 men, the room fell into an awkward silence. The atmosphere of chatting was no longer there. Miao and Feng was fine. She had always been a man of few words, so she did not feel anything. Shi Qing had traveled in Jianghu and was very good at making friends. He hurriedly said, I am Shi Qing of Xuanzu Zhuang. This is my wife, Minro. May I know your names? The 2 old men were much older than Shi Qing, so it was not inappropriate for Shi Qing to call them seniors. Oh, the black and white swords couple. It's an honor to meet you. We are Bo Tai and Hao Mi of the Qinghai sect. Seeing Shi Qing's respectful attitude, the 2 were quite pleased. As for the words, an honor to meet you, they were not sincere at all. Shi Qing was a gentleman. He was not offended by the 2's attitude. It's the famous double killers of Hajian. He had traveled in Jianghu and had seen many things. He knew that these 2 were very good at martial arts. During the lion-slaying festival, they had joined hands to defeat the Shaolin divine monk Du Nan. They had even defeated the King Kong demon subduing ring, which had once rendered the sect leader of the Ming dynasty, Zhang Wuji, helpless. The double killers of Hajian nodded with satisfaction. Their eyes suddenly moved to Miao and Feng. Who are you? Miao and Feng. Miao and Feng said coldly. The double killers of Hajian narrowed their eyes and smiled coldly. Are you the self-proclaimed invincible Miao Renfeng? Miao Renfeng's exaggerated nickname was just to force Hu Yidao to enter the pass. She didn't expect that people in Jianghu would care so much about it. Miao Renfeng was too lazy to explain, so the rumors in Jianghu became more and more exaggerated. Miao Renfeng didn't want to explain to the double killers of Hajian's bad attitude. She closed her eyes and stopped talking. The 2 of them were instantly enraged. I like to see for myself just how invincible you are. Luckily, the 2 respected themselves and didn't want to bully him with numbers. Hao Mi was the only one who attacked with his judge pen. Miao Renfeng's eyes narrowed. She unsheathed her sword and didn't get up. She just sat there and fought with him. Hao Mi sneered. He channeled his qi into his judge pen, intending to break his sword. Miao Renfeng noticed the strong wind coming from his weapon. She didn't take it head-on. Instead, she used a gentle force on her sword. Hao Mi felt like he was punching cotton. He was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. Miao Renfeng saw that Hao Mi's weapon was a judge's pen and knew that he was an expert in close combat. Now that she was carrying her daughter, she was afraid that she would be hurt. So she used her sword to keep Hao Mi at a distance of 3 feet. Hao Mi snorted. He used his judge pen to block Miao Renfeng's sword. He poked him with his left hand. Miao Renfeng felt a strong wind coming at her. She couldn't stay still anymore. She picked up her daughter and jumped a few feet away. She saw a finger-sized hole in the floor where she was sitting. Her expression turned serious. One finger's in. Join the group if you want to read. 337294925. Chapter 352. You're quite knowledgeable. Hao Mi chuckled and attacked again. Miao Renfeng's face darkened as he gently pushed Miao Rulin into Min Ro's arms. I hope Madame Sure can help me take care of my daughter. Miao Renfeng had traveled to Jianghu and knew that the black and white dual swords were full of righteousness, especially the divine ice sword Min Ro, who was known for her kindness. Hao Mi's attack was urgent, and Miao Renfeng was worried that his one finger's in would hurt his daughter. Don't worry, Hero Miao. Min Ro's motherly love overflowed as she looked at Miao Rulin. She tightened her grip on her sword and prepared herself. Fighting again? Daddy, Lon, it doesn't like swords. Put them away. Miao Rulin had already woken up. She looked at the situation in a daze and said in a childish voice, Lon, when Daddy is done with this person, put away your sword immediately. Miao Renfeng said in a low voice and thrust her sword forward, faster than before. Hao Mi was in a sorry state. He had many wounds on his body. If it wasn't for his cultivation, he would have died on the spot. Seeing that his junior brother was forced to parry Miao Renfeng's attacks and had no time to counterattack with one finger's in, Bowtie knew that the two brothers were no match for Miao Renfeng. He looked at Miao Rulin and hesitated. He wanted to use his daughter to distract Miao Renfeng, but Miao Rulin was protected by the black and white dual swords. There was no need to provoke a strong enemy. Seeing Miao Renfeng's vicious moves, Bowtie knew that in a short while his junior brother would most likely fall in his hands. How could he care about his face? With a loud shout, he waved the acupoint stick and joined the battle. Although the twin killers of Hejian were not famous in the Jianghu, they were both experts in the Jianghu and specialized in joint attacks. One of them used the judge's pen, and the other used the acupoint stick to block the opponent's attacks. With the one finger's in, their power multiplied. When the two joined forces, they were no weaker than the top experts in the Jianghu. Even the Shaolin divine monk Du Nan was defeated by them. Although Miao Renfeng's swordsmanship was good, he was afraid of the one finger's in that his opponent would shoot out from time to time. However, Miao Renfeng was known to be invincible throughout the world. Even though it was largely an exaggeration, she was not an ordinary person. Although he was in a difficult position at the beginning, he was very experienced and quickly adjusted himself. The three of them fought back and forth, attacking and defending. Unexpectedly, they were in a stalemate. Bowtie reckoned that after a few hundred more moves, the two brothers should be able to defeat their opponent. However, they would probably have to pay a heavy price. In this baffling competition, the two of them had disdained each other's reputation. Now that the two of them had combined their strength, they were only able to fight him to a draw. In the eyes of outsiders, the two of them had already lost. Just as they were about to say some polite words to stop fighting, a sharp gust of wind suddenly came from behind them. The three of them hurriedly separated. A pair of giant golden scissors knocked against the wall and bounced back, falling into the hands of a red-haired fatty. Good fellow, they're all experts. If there's a place to fight, how can I, the evil god of the South Sea, miss out? Hearing his words, Min Ro was startled. Could he be the third of the four great villains, the one who was known as the fiendish demon? Suddenly, she heard her husband shout, "Watch out!" She quickly raised her sword to meet the attack. But before she could even unsheath her sword, she felt a blur in front of her eyes. Her chest felt as if someone was wantonly pinching it. Before she could react, Miao Rulin, who was beside her, had already been taken away by a man in gray. Miao Renfeng coldly snorted and thrust her sword at the man's back. The man in gray did not expect his sword to be so fast. He could not help but feel as if his soul had left his body, but he could not bear to let go of Meow Rulin in his arms. Just as he was about to die on the spot, there was a sudden whooshing sound from outside the door. A gust of hot wind from a finger flew towards Meowrenfeng's face. This finger wind was unusually fierce. Meowrenfeng knew that if she was hit, she would either die or be seriously injured. She had no choice but to dodge it. The man in gray had not yet recovered from his shock. He looked at the person who came in and said, "Thank you, boss." A man and a woman walked in. The man was dressed in a green robe. His long beard hung down to his chest. His face was dark, and his eyes were wide open. There were several hideous scars on his face. The woman was dressed in red. She was quite beautiful. Unfortunately, there were 3 bloody scratches on both her cheeks. Although there was a smile on her face, it seemed to hide an endless amount of sorrow. Meowrenfeng saw that the man in the green robe's legs were crippled. He held a pair of steel sticks. She could not help but feel moved. She asked in a low voice, "Are you the leader of the 4 great villains, the one who has committed countless crimes, Duan Yanqing?" The man in the green robe's lips were tightly shut. A hoarse laugh came from his belly. I did not expect the invincible golden-faced Buddha to know of this old man's name. I am truly honored. Meowrenfeng coldly snorted. I have never had any enmity with the 4 great villains. Why are you making things difficult for my daughter? The man in gray who had taken Meow Rulin was Yunzhong He. He laughed cruelly. Your daughter is so young, but she is already so beautiful. When she grows up, she will probably be a national beauty. I, Yunzhong He, love women the most. Unfortunately, I have never had a taste of such a young girl. Today, I will have a taste. Big baddie, let me go. Although Meow Rulin was still young and did not understand the meaning of Yunzhong He's words, she knew that this repulsive uncle in front of her was not a good person. In a panic, she quickly punched and kicked him. Meow Rulin's small arms and legs hit Yunzhong He's body like tickles. Yunzhong He looked like he was enjoying it. Uncle is not a baddie. Uncle likes little girls the most. In the inner room, Song Qingshu had a strange look on his face. He whispered in Icy Snow's ear, "The word uncle coming from his mouth is really annoying. Why aren't you going to save little Rulin? Kill this shameless pervert while you're at it." Hui Dao and Meowrenfeng were close friends. Meowrenfeng knew Icy Snow, so Icy Snow naturally knew his wife. A few years ago, Icy Snow had hugged Meow Rulin. She also liked this beautiful little girl. Seeing that she had fallen into the hands of the pervert Yunzhong He, she immediately became anxious. Song Qingshu quickly comforted her. "If I go out now, won't our relationship be exposed? Let's observe the situation first." Meowrenfeng's martial arts are excellent, and the black and white dual swords have always been upright. They should be able to help him. Icy Snow's face turned red. She couldn't help but mumble, "What relationship between us can't be exposed?" But in the end, she didn't urge Song Qingshu to go out. Hearing Yunzhong He's words, not only was Meow Renfeng furious, but the black and white dual swords were also filled with righteous indignation. Minro was angry that Yunzhong He had taken advantage of her, but at the same time, she felt guilty for betraying Meow Renfeng's trust and causing Meow Rulin to fall into the enemy's hands. She immediately unsheathed her sword and reprimanded in a clear voice, "Yunzhong He, you shameless scum. Today, my wife and I will enforce justice on behalf of heaven." Yunzhong He glanced at Minro and revealed a trace of covetous expression. "Tisk, TSK, TSK. I, Yunzhong He, am really lucky today. Not only do I have such an outstanding little beauty, but I also have such a delicate and quiet young woman." Hearing this, Shi Qing was furious and cursed. "Yunzhong He, I, Shi Qing, will tear your body into 1,000 pieces." Yunzhong He shook his head and laughed. "I've heard this kind of words many times, but I'm still alive and well. I, Yunzhong He, have always been good at killing husbands and taking wives. Your wife's breasts are plump and soft, simply the best. Your wife looks so delicate and timid. She must be lacking in nourishment. It doesn't matter. From now on, I, Yunzhong He, will do it for you. Ha ha ha. Die, you pervert." Qing was so angry that his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He couldn't hold back anymore and attacked with his sword. He was already prepared. As soon as he saw the attack, he quickly raised his silver crane claw to block the sword. A spark flashed, and unexpectedly a small piece of the crane claw was shaved off. He was secretly shocked. I've heard that the black and white dual swords are rare treasured swords in the world. It really lives up to its reputation. Min Ro was worried that her husband would be hurt, so she quickly brandished her sword to attack. Yi Ernyang giggled. Fourth brother, second sister will help you. Then she raised her sabers to block Min Ro. Just now, Min Ro was just careless. She didn't expect He's lightness skill to be so high, but she was still one of the four freaks of the North, so her martial arts were above He's. She and her husband Qing's mind were connected. Their swordsmanship complemented each other. Coupled with the power of the sharp sword, He and Yi Ernyang were quickly forced into a panic. Wah, your martial arts are so good. You Lao San am coming. The southern sea crocodile deity was stunned for a moment. Then he waved his crocodile's beak and joined the fight. With the help of Yu Lao San, Yi Ernyang, and Yunzhong, he finally calmed down. Seeing the swordplay of the black and white dual swords being upright and gentle, with the demeanor of a master, Miao Renfeng secretly nodded her head. The two of them had deep attainments in the prime, clear swordplay. Even though it was 2 against 3, they still held the upper hand. However, it would take a long time to determine the victor. Miao Rulin, whose acupoints were sealed by He, stayed by Duan Yanqing's side. Her big eyes were filled with tears. She was obviously very afraid, but she kept her mouth shut and didn't cry or make a fuss. Great hero Miao, your daughter is so sensible at such a young age. I was afraid that my voice would distract you. This old man admires her very much, Duan Yanqing said as he looked at Miao Renfeng. Lan don't be afraid. After comforting Miao Rulin, Miao Renfeng pointed the tip of her sword at Duan Yanqing. She said in a deep voice, I've long heard that Miao Renfeng is the #1 expert of Xixia's first-class hall. Today, I'd like to learn a thing or two from you. Duan Yanqing smiled. He raised an iron staff and hit it on Miao Rulin's back. Hero Miao, if you take one more step forward, don't blame me for being ruthless. Big brother, this girl is so beautiful at such a young age. It would be a pity to kill her. Yunzhong, he hurriedly shouted. Duan Yanqing snorted. They had come under the order of the Xixia king to secretly help the Manchu Qing imperial court destroy the Golden Snake Battalion. In order to protect themselves, Xixia hoped that the Manchu Qing imperial court could restrain the Mongols. Naturally, they didn't want the Manchu Qing imperial court to waste their strength in vain. Of course, Xixia didn't dare to openly offend the Mongols. Everything had to be done in secret. Xixia's Class 1 Hall had already found out that a large number of Jianghu heroes were heading to Shandong. They planned to secretly eliminate some of them for the Manchu Qing imperial court. Miao Renfeng and the black and white dual swords were famous people. If the 4 villains could capture and kill them, it would be a great merit when they returned to Xixia. Song Qing-shu, who was in the inner room, was puzzled. Why didn't the Class 1 Hall stay in the country to prepare for the marriage of the princess of Yinchuan? Why did they come all the way to this muddy water? As expected, Miao Renfeng didn't dare to step forward. She asked in a deep voice, What will it take for you to let my daughter go? Duan Yanqing laughed. That's easy. As long as Hero Miao breaks his right arm, I will let your daughter go. Everyone who reads should join this group. 337294925. Chapter 353. Qing and his wife were shocked when they heard Duan Yanqing's threat. Don't believe him, great hero Miao. The 4 great villains are not trustworthy. If you cut off your right hand, you'll become a fish waiting to be slaughtered. Daddy, don't. Little Rulin cried out anxiously. Miao Renfeng's expression changed. It was obvious that she was struggling. Duan Yanqing smiled. Great hero Miao, I know you don't believe me, but if you cut off your right hand, the daughter will still have a chance to live. Otherwise, my fourth brother wouldn't mind letting your daughter enjoy the taste of being a woman before she dies. Shameless. Miao Renfeng was furious. She wanted to rush over, but Duan Yanqing pushed his staff forward. Miao Rulin cried out in pain. Miao Renfeng had to stop, his eyes almost spitting fire. TSK, TSK, TSK. Since great hero Miao isn't willing, this will be difficult. Duan Yanqing shook his head. How about this? I'll give you another choice. What choice? Miao Renfeng knew that it would be difficult to fulfill the other party's conditions, but it was better than cutting off her right hand and leaving the lives of her father and daughter in someone else's hands. These two, Duan Yanqing pointed at the twin evils of Hejian, have been a disaster in the world of martial artists for years. If great hero Miao can take their heads in exchange, I will return your daughter unharmed. The twin evils of Hejian cursed. Duan Yanqing, you cripple. When it comes to bringing disaster to the world of martial artists, no one can compare to you four villains. It's obvious that you hate us because we didn't want to join Western Xia's Class 1 Hall. Duan Yanqing smiled and said nothing, tacitly agreeing. The twin evils of Hejian were the most famous elites of Qinghai sect, which was located in Western Xia. Class 1 Hall had tried to recruit them several times, but they had always rejected them. Recently, Class 1 Hall received news that the twin evils of Hejian looked down on the forces of Western Xia and wanted to join Mongolia, which was like the sun in the sky. It was said that they were recently introduced to Ruyang Mansion. All of this was carried out in secret. Ruyang Mansion did not want their identities to be exposed, so they placed them as chess pieces in Western Xia, hoping that they would one day be of unexpected use. Class 1 Hall pretended that they did not know about it. They wanted to use the chance to get rid of the duo so that the Mongolians would have to suffer in silence. All right, I've heard that Mr. Duan's attainment in the one-yang finger is the best among the Duan family in Dali. Today, we brothers would like to see whether your Duan family's one-yang finger or our one finger's end is more powerful. Bowtie cursed in anger. Then, he and Haomi rushed over. They weren't as apprehensive as Miao Renfeng. They shot out a few wisps of finger wind from afar. They didn't care about Miao Rulin's life. Duan Yanqing pulled Miao Rulin along with him and retreated backwards. A few small holes appeared where they were standing. Duan Yanqing coldly snorted when he saw the two of them pouncing towards him. He lifted his iron staff and swept it horizontally in the air. A swift and fierce gust of wind forced the two of them back. Seeing that the two of them were about to charge at him again, Duan Yanqing knew that if the two of them were to attack him, he would not be a match for them while holding Miao Rulin hostage. He quickly said, "Hero Miao, if you let the two of them attack you, I cannot guarantee that I will be able to protect your daughter's safety every time." Miao Renfeng saw that the twin evils of Hejian had attacked ruthlessly without regard for her daughter's life. She had been suppressing her anger for a long time. She grimaced and swung her sword to block the twin evils of Hejian. Mr. Duan, the twin evils of Hejian are very powerful. I don't have the ability to take their lives. The twin evils of Hejian looked pleased when they heard Miao Renfeng's flattery. They snorted and said, "At least you know your limits." Duan Yanqing said, "Fine. If Hero Miao can take one of their lives, I'll return your daughter to you." He knew very well that if he insisted that Miao Renfeng kill the two of them, they wouldn't be able to fight due to their many apprehensions. But if he only killed one of them, the difficulty would be greatly reduced. Miao Renfeng must have some confidence. The twin evils of Hejian were very close to each other. If Miao Renfeng killed one of them, the remaining one would definitely fight to the death. According to Duan Yanqing's plan, Miao Renfeng wouldn't be able to escape death in a fight to the death. One of the twin evils of Hejian would be injured, and the other would be dead. Then, the remaining one would be no match for him. Although Miao Renfeng had roughly guessed Duan Yanqing's plan, the arrow on the bow had to be released. Moreover, he had always been very proud of his swordsmanship. The twin evils of Hejian were very powerful. If he was careful, he might be able to escape unscathed. "Excuse me." Before the twin evils of Hejian could react, Miao Renfeng thrust a sharp sword light at them. Seeing that Miao Renfeng had chosen to kill them, the twin evils of Hejian were so angry that they laughed. Miao Renfeng, you're too arrogant. One waved the judge's pen, while the other brandished the acupuncture point stick. They planned to combine their strength and kill Miao Renfeng first. Then, they would settle the score with Duan Yanqing. One side's swordsmanship was exquisite, while the other side's acupuncture point stick was superb. The three of them moved up and down, and the fight was very exciting. A strange smile appeared on Duan Yanqing's ferocious face. The iron staff in his hand trembled slightly. He planned to kill all of them in one fell swoop, while the three of them were in a stalemate. Uncle, hurry up and save little Rulin. Hero Miao has been a hero for a lifetime. You can't just die here. Icy Snow was a little anxious when she heard the situation outside. Although there were people who obstructed us in the past, Miao Renfeng was also partly responsible for Big Brother, whose death. It's good to let him suffer a little, Song Qingshu said. Icy Snow shook her head. Big Brother, who really admired Miao Renfeng's character. Although I've been deliberately avoiding him because of what happened in the past, he's in danger now. If Big Brother, whose spirit is in heaven, he'll agree to let me save him. Seeing that Icy Snow was about to get up, Song Qingshu quickly held her down. Hey, why are you going out and causing trouble? Can you save Miao Rulin from Duan Yanqing? A charming smile appeared on Icy Snow's face. Indeed, I can't. But Uncle won't help me just because I'm in danger. Song Qingshu laughed involuntarily. You have a good plan. Uncle, I'm begging you. Icy Snow suddenly looked at him and said coquettishly. Song Qingshu's heart skipped a beat. He almost couldn't control himself for being called a sweet uncle. How could he have the heart to refuse? He quickly said, Okay, I'll go. Fortunately, Ping Yiji often received people from the martial world. Therefore, the living room was very spacious. The two groups of people were fighting, but didn't feel crowded. Duan Yanqing was hesitating whether to sneak an attack on Bowtie or Haomi suddenly. He heard a light cough coming from inside the room. He couldn't help but turn pale with fright. Even with his skill, he didn't notice that there was someone inside. It turned out that Icy Snow was worried that Miao Renfeng would see the two of them in the same room. Therefore, she had been whispering in Song Qingshu's ear. In fact, Song Qingshu had already arranged a layer of vital energy at the head of the bed when he circulated his vital energy. Therefore, the people outside couldn't hear their conversation. However, he enjoyed the feeling of Icy Snow leaning on him. Therefore, he didn't say anything and just let her warm and fragrant body rest in his arms. Hey, you bastard are fighting here. Have you ever thought about how I, the owner, feel? Not only are you disturbing my sleep, but you also need to pay for breaking anything. Song Qingshu casually picked up a hat in the room and put it on to cover half of his face. Then he walked out of the room while cursing. Group 337294925. Chapter 354. The reason why Song Qingshu covered his face was largely due to Icy Snow's thin-skinned nature. If this group of people were to see him and spread the news, it wouldn't matter to him, but it would damage Icy Snow's reputation. At this time, Haomi had just been forced back by Miao Renfeng's sword and had fallen to Song Qingshu's side in a sorry state. She had a belly full of anger, and when she heard Song Qingshu's words, she couldn't help but be furious. Country bumpkin, you're looking for death. Minro had just seen the double killers of Hejian's one fingers in, which could poke a small hole in a flagstone. How could a farmer in the wild who did not know any kung fu withstand it with his body? Her face turned pale, and she warned, Be careful. Who would have thought that the man would calmly smile back, allowing Haomi to poke him with her finger? As a result, Haomi quickly retreated as if she had seen a ghost, looking at him with an indescribable horror. Min Ro's heart skipped a beat when she saw his warm smile, and her swordsmanship became a little messy. Fortunately, her husband Shi Qing covered for her, so the enemy didn't take advantage of her weakness. She quickly put on a serious expression and focused her mind to deal with the situation. Bowtie was the first to notice Haomi's abnormality. After forcing Miao Renfeng to retreat, he came to Haomi's side and asked, Junior brother, what's wrong? Hami put his left hand behind his back. His lips were slightly trembling and beads of sweat oozed from his face. Seeing his senior brother come to him, he squeezed out a few words through gritted teeth. "I'm afraid my finger is broken." As soon as he said this, the room fell silent. Hami's voice was soft, but everyone present was a kung fu master and naturally heard clearly. The power of Hami's one finger's in was obvious to all. But now, Hami didn't dodge, and his finger was broken. How powerful was this person's kung fu? Bowtie raised his hand and looked at it. He couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. He saw that Hami's finger was deformed. It was obvious that the finger was crippled. Bowtie glared at Song Qing-shu. "We have no grudge against you. Why did you hit us so hard?" "Is that so?" Song Qing-shu sneered. "Didn't the two of you care about the little girl's safety when you attacked just now? Now that you see me, a person who has no enmity with you, walk out, you want to take my life just because of a disagreement. I didn't do anything." The counterattack he received was only determined by the strength of his attack. If your junior martial brother had a trace of mercy when he attacked just now, he wouldn't have been so heavily injured now. The two of them usually did things neither righteous nor evil and never cared about human life. Hearing Song Qing-shu's rhetorical question, Bowtie was momentarily speechless. The black and white twin swords and the others also nodded inwardly. Hami had brought this upon herself. Seeing the miserable state of his junior brother's finger, Bowtie thought that his one finger's in, which he had been practicing for decades, might have been crippled. He was filled with hatred in his heart, but he suddenly remembered that there was a rumor in the Ruyang mansion that there was a black jade ointment that might be able to save Hami's finger. Thus, he decided to flee. As the saying goes, it's never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. After his junior brother recovered, he would invite his friends to take revenge. "Today, we brothers admit our defeat, but you have been hiding. Who are you? Do you dare to tell us your name?" Bowtie supported Hami and slowly moved to the door as he spoke with hatred. The martial arts that Song Qing-shu had demonstrated attracted everyone's attention in the room. Everyone was as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Since the two of them wanted to flee, no one tried to stop them. Hearing Bowtie's words, Song Qing-shu laughed and said, "That's good. I'll never change my name. I'm Zhao Min. Bowtie silently remembered the name in his heart. He said while gnashing his teeth, "All right, I'll repay you generously in the future. The mountains will never change, and the rivers will always flow. We'll meet again someday." Although the double evils of Hejian had joined the Ruyang Palace, they hadn't entered the core circle yet. Naturally, they didn't know that their future boss was Zhao Min watching the double evils of Hejian disappear into the rain. Duan Yanqing thought to himself, "Their one finger tap is at the peak of perfection, and their finger strength is no weaker than mine, but they were defeated so easily. I don't know if this person is a friend or a foe. I'll have to be careful not to offend him." Song Qing-shu glanced around, and his eyes fell on Yun Zhonghe. TSK. I've long heard that you're a pervert, but now you won't even let go of a little girl. You're really a scumbag." Yun Zhonghe frowned, but he didn't dare to lose his temper due to his fear of Duan Yanqing's martial arts. He could only snort coldly. Song Qing-shu smiled and shifted his gaze to Miao Ruolin. "Little girl, you were very polite just now. I like you very much. Do you want to come to me?" In Miao Ruolin's mind, the cripple next to her had caught her and threatened her father, so he must be a bad guy. The double evils of Hejian just fought with her father, so they must not be good people. Song Qing-shu drove away the double evils of Hejian as soon as he came out, so he must be a very good person. Thinking of this, Miao Ruolin smiled sweetly. "Okay." Duan Yanqing's heart tightened, and the iron staff in his hand struck Miao Ruolin's back. He was just about to threaten her with the same method he used on Miao Renfeng when Song Qing-shu stretched out his hand and waved it in the air. A huge suction force appeared, and Miao Ruolin flew towards him. Duan Yanqing turned pale with fright. If he lost this little hostage, even Miao Renfeng would not let him go, not to mention this unfathomable person in front of him. While these thoughts were still in his mind, he had already risen into the air. One of his iron staffs shot out a finger force, while the other stabbed towards Miao Rulin's back. If Song Qingshu chose to protect Miao Rulin behind him in a split second, it was very likely that the iron staff would pierce through his chest. If he let Miao Rulin block in front of her chest, his iron staff could also pierce through her small body and stab her. Miao Renfeng hastily brandished her sword in an attempt to block Duan Yanqing's advance. Who would have thought that Duan Yanqing had already anticipated this reaction? Just as the solitary Yang finger shot out, Duan Yanqing withdrew his iron staff and blocked Miao Renfeng's longsword. Using the recoil force, his entire body moved even faster than before as he stabbed towards Miao Rulin's back. With a flick of his sleeve, Song Qingshu neutralized the finger wind that had arrived in advance. Then, he seized the opportunity to grab Duan Yanqing's Damascus steel staff that was thrusting at him, preventing him from advancing any further. Duan Yanqing did not expect that his full-strength attack would be so easily countered. He was about to wave his other iron staff to attack Duan Yanqing when a huge force came from Duan Yanqing's hand. He could not help but be thrown backwards. Duan Yanqing's legs were already crippled. It was difficult for him to balance himself when he was thrown back from the air. He sat on the ground awkwardly. His two iron crutches also fell to the ground with a clang. He struggled to get up, but found that his whole body was sore and weak. It turned out that his opponent had only just used his strength. He could not help but fall down again. Yi Eryang and the other two hurriedly ran to his side and helped him up. They all looked at Song Qingshu vigilantly to prevent him from taking the opportunity to launch a sneak attack. Who knew that Song Qingshu did not have the slightest intention to make a move. Instead, he looked at little Rulin who was sitting on his arm and smiled. "How is it? Uncle is awesome, right?" "Wow, Uncle, you are awesome." Miao Rulin clapped her hands, her eyes curved into crescent moons. Group 3, 372-94925. Chapter 355. When he heard Miao Rulin's crisp voice shouting, "You're the best," Song Qingshu suddenly felt a sense of absurdity. In his previous life, he had read a novel called The Romantic Past of the Polytechnic University. In it, when Xiao Qiao and Sun Quan were playing basketball, the cheerleader Xiao Qiao praised Xiao Qiao and immediately raised his gun to salute him. While doing a dunk, Xiao Qiao shot Sun Quan in the face, leading to the tragic burning red buttocks incident. Sigh. I miss that world from my previous life. Song Qingshu sighed. "Uncle, did Lan'er say something wrong?" Seeing Song Qingshu's high-spirited face suddenly become desolate, Miao Rulin reached out to touch his cheek, trying to cheer him up again. "Of course not. I was just thinking about the past." Song Qingshu pushed her little hand away and forced a smile. He carried her to Miao Renfeng and said, "Hero Miao, I have returned your precious daughter to you in one piece." Miao Renfeng's face was filled with excitement. She reached out and carried Miao Rulin back. "Young master, I am unable to repay your kindness. If there is anything I can do for you in the future, I am at your service." Although most of Song Qingshu's face was covered by a hat, Miao Renfeng could still tell that he was young. Song Qingshu smiled nonchalantly. It was just a good karma. Would he really be able to order the golden-faced Buddha around in the future? However, Song Qingshu suddenly thought of the matter between him and icy snow. He thought that with this layer of relationship, Miao Renfeng would be able to turn a blind eye to it. "Who are you?" Yunzhong, he was both angry and afraid as he watched the juicy meat fly away from him. Perhaps the unobtainable was the best. Previously, he thought that Min Ro was just a pretty girl. Now that he looked at her, he realized that she was a rare beauty. He glanced at the beautiful Miao Rulin and felt even more vexed. If it wasn't for this unknown man who suddenly appeared, he might have been enjoying the pleasures of the world. Seeing Yunzhong, he looking around. Min Ro and Miao Rulin felt uneasy. One hid behind her husband, while the other buried her head in her father's arms. "Yin Zhonghe, I heard that you swore an oath that if you continue to bully women in the future, then you'll be struck by lightning." Song Qingshu sneered. Yunzhong, he was startled. He wondered if only he and Song Qingshu knew about this. As he thought about it, he realized that the man in front of him was becoming more and more familiar. He couldn't help but exclaim, "Song Qingshu, so it's you." Song Qingshu was stunned. He had not expected Duan Yanqing to see through him. He simply took off his hat and looked at Duan Yanqing with a smile. "Mr. Duan, after parting from the Five Poison sect, you are still as elegant as ever." Duan Yanqing couldn't bring himself to lose face when he thought about his miserable defeat. He could only snort coldly and say, "Your martial arts are getting better and better." Everyone heard Duan Yanqing's words and agreed. Miao Renfeng sighed. "I heard that Taoist master Chong Su lost to him in one move. I didn't believe it, but now that I've seen it with my own eyes, there is always someone better." Min Ro's eyes lit up. She didn't expect this handsome young man to be so skilled. If you could have even a tenth of his skills, she would be satisfied. Shi Qing was overjoyed. He cupped his hands and said, "So you are the Prince Song who entered the Qing court alone to assassinate Kangxi. I have admired you for a long time. Now that I've met you, you are indeed a young hero." Song Qingshu quickly replied, "The rumors were exaggerated. Besides, I failed in the end. I don't deserve Hero Shi's praise. On the other hand, you and your wife have been chivalrous in Jianghu for many years. Song Mao admires you very much." "Young master, you are wrong." Shi Qing waved his hand. "My wife and I are chivalrous, but we're just little heroes. As the saying goes, chivalrous people serve their country and their people. Young master, you have aroused the passion of the Han people. You are much more useful than us. Hey, are you done? Don't you feel sick flattering each other?" The South Sea crocodile deity put on a disgusted expression. Although he knew that Song Qingshu's martial arts were much better than his, he had always been careless and said whatever came to his mind. Looking at this adorable creature from the demigods and semi-devils, Song Qingshu smiled slightly and didn't seem to be angry. "I want to flatter you too, but from top to bottom, whether it's martial arts or style, I really can't find anything for me to flatter you about. It's not like I can flatter you until the back of your head protrudes." The South Sea crocodile deity was startled. He chuckled and said, "Pretty boy, you actually know that the back of our heads protrude. I really admire you." Seeing that he didn't admire Song Qingshu's martial arts, but this kind of inexplicable thing, the people in the room couldn't help but secretly laugh. Duan Yanqing coughed and asked in a deep voice, "Speaking of this, I would like to ask you. When I was in the Five Poison sect, it was you who recruited me into the Manchurian Qing stick. Now you have done this kind of thing. How can I live with myself?" "Don't worry, Mr. Duan. It's up to you to decide whether to stay or leave the stick. Now Kangxi is short of martial arts masters. I think he won't embarrass you because of me. As for today's matter, I won't embarrass you today for the sake of our past relationship." Song Qingshu thought in his heart, "Now that Kangxi in the Forbidden City is one of us, it's good for Duan Yanqing to continue to stay in the stick. He is indirectly working for me, but I can't persuade them to stay in the stick openly. After all, I still have to consider the psychological feelings of Miao Renfeng and the black and white swords." "Forget it." Duan Yanqing's expression was uncertain. Finally, he let out a long sigh. At first, he agreed to join the stick because Song Qingshu promised to help him restore his country. Now that Song Qingshu had left, who knew what Kangxi was thinking? "With your current martial arts, you still failed to assassinate Kangxi. I don't know how many mysterious masters are hidden in the Qing court." Song Qingshu was shocked, but he said calmly, "Mr. Duan, you don't have to belittle yourself. The reason why Song Mao failed was that he didn't expect that there was a eunuch with superb martial arts hidden in the palace. That's why he failed on the verge of success. With Mr. Duan's martial arts, I'm afraid there are few people in the Qing court who can be your opponent, except for that eunuch." By the way, Song Qingshu didn't want to get entangled in this issue. "Why didn't you guys organize the Yinchuan princess's betrothal contest in Xixia? Why did you come all the way to Kaifeng?" Duan Yanqing asked in surprise. "Don't you think Prince Song knows about it?" "Know about what?" Song Qingshu looked puzzled. Seeing that his expression didn't seem to be fake, Duan Yanqing explained, Not long ago, the king of my country announced that the betrothal contest would be postponed for a year. How could such a big thing be postponed? Song Qingshu was dumbfounded. It should be known that the Xixia country had already announced this matter to the world. Now that it was postponed, how could the country keep its face? The king of my country also had no choice. Duan Yanqing sighed. His expression was full of helplessness and resentment. 337294925. Chapter 356. Seeing his expression, Song Qingshu's heart skipped a beat. Did something happen in the Mongols? Young Master Song's eyes are indeed like a torch. Duan Yanqing nodded. Originally, in order to allow Prince Su Liwu of the Mongolian Western Expedition to have enough time to rush back from the far west, my country had already arranged for the marriage to be held very late. Who knew that not long ago, Zulwu was seriously injured by an assassin on his way to the betrothal? He is now carefully recovering and will not be able to participate in the betrothal. So the betrothal of Western Xia is fake. The real plan is to marry the princess to Zulwu. Miao Renfeng sneered. A hint of anger flashed between Duan Yanqing's brows, but he didn't show it in the end. Hero Miao, you're wrong. Western Xia is only a small country at the border. It's sandwiched between a few major powers, and it only seeks to protect itself. Now that the Mongolians are the most powerful, my country's monarch won't take the risk of offending them and inviting a military disaster. Although Western Xia and the Mongols had always been at war, there were only small skirmishes on the border. They had not yet shed all pretense of cordiality. The competition between the Mongol princes for the throne was becoming more and more intense. Whoever could marry the princess of Western Xia would gain an external ally, which would greatly benefit the future struggle for the throne. Therefore, the princes were determined to win the betrothal. Western Xia understood this as well, and it was not as if they did not want to form an alliance with the Mongols through marriage. After all, if the emperor's son-in-law became the Mongol Khan, then Princess Yinchuan would become the Mongol empress, and the Western Xia would be protected. As for which prince to choose as the son-in-law, Western Xia had not yet decided. After all, each prince was very powerful and had their own advantages. No one knew who Temujin had his eyes on. In the end, the Western Xia leaders decided to let nature take its course and not offend anyone. The princes would have to rely on their own abilities to marry the princess. Who knew that Zulwu would be assassinated on the way? If Western Xia held the betrothal according to their previous plan, then they would be offending Zulwu. If Zulwu became the Mongol Khan, then Western Xia would be destroyed. Although Kublai and Ali Buj were dissatisfied with the delay, their brother was seriously injured, and it was not convenient for them to talk about marriage. Therefore, they did not want to offend the two. As for offending the rest of the young talents in the world, it was not within the Western Xia's consideration. Song Qingshu had been in the upper echelons of the Manchurian Qing dynasty for a long time. His grasp of the country's decision-making was far beyond that of Miao Renfeng and the rest of the Jianghu. Right now, he was puzzled about something else. He looked at Duan Yanqing and asked, Su Liwu dominates the West and has many experts under his command. I wonder who it was that managed to successfully assassinate him? Song Qingshu had been away from the Forbidden City for some time, so he was unable to share a lot of information about the Qing court. Does Prince Song know about the Persian Ming dynasty? Duan Yanqing asked. Song Qingshu was shocked. If it was the Persian Ming dynasty, then there was nothing to be surprised about. They definitely had the ability to do so. Legend has it that the Ming dynasty came from Persia. The Ming revered Mani and the Great Elder, the Old Man of the Mountain, Huashan, all have unfathomable abilities, especially the assassin sect under Huashan. They are a professional assassin alliance. They receive payment and specialize in assassinating important officials in the Middle East, Egypt, and even Europe. Because their base is in the mountains, the endless fortresses are like the horns of the mountains. The imperial courts have always been unable to do anything to them. Duan Yanqing had never heard of Europe, Egypt, and other places that Song Qingshu mentioned. He did not care too much and said directly, "That's right. The Ming dynasty of the Central Plains is growing stronger day by day under the leadership of Zhang Wuji. Even the Mongols are having a headache. Rumor has it that the Ming dynasty of the Persia is 10 times stronger than the Ming dynasty of the Central Plains. Now the Mongols are in trouble." He could not hide the gloating in his tone. However, Song Qingshu was recalling the history of his previous life. In that world, Su Liu led 100,000 troops into the mountains and forcibly destroyed the fortresses of the assassin sect. In the process, the assassin sect organized nearly 1,000 assassinations to assassinate Monk and Su Liu. Unfortunately, they all failed. In the end, the masters of the sect led the remaining members to surrender. However, they were all executed by Su Liu. Song Qingshu could not help but sigh. He did not know if the assassination of Su Liu by the Ming dynasty of Persia had triggered this historical event. "Then why did you come to Kaifeng?" Song Qingshu suddenly asked. Duan Yanqing explained. This time, the imperial court of the Qing dynasty sent 100,000 troops to completely destroy the Golden Snake Camp of Shandong. The Golden Snake Camp sent out invitations to heroes from all over the world. They also promised that whoever could help them get through this crisis will be elected as the new Golden Snake King. "I'm afraid that the four of you can't be considered heroes." Shi Qing laughed disdainfully. The four great evildoers were infamous. Moreover, he had just personally witnessed their despicable methods. Naturally, it was hard for Shi Qing, who hated evil as if it were his mortal enemy, to have a good impression of them. Duan Yanqing laughed coldly. "Although we can't be considered heroes, we are the best at so-called heroes. Everyone, for the sake of Song Mao, let's all take a step back." Hearing this, Song Qingshu's face darkened. On one side, there was a latent member who was also his power. On the other side, there were chivalrous people. He did not feel that it would be good to hurt either of them. Yun Zhonghe propped up his chin and looked at Min Ro lecherously. "Heh. If not for Prince Song's protection, your wife would have already gone to hell with me. You wouldn't have the energy to talk big here." Min Ro was so angry that her delicate body trembled slightly. Tears streamed down her face uncontrollably. Shi Qing was so angry that his whole body was trembling. Song Qingshu's face darkened. He struck his palm at Yun Zhonghe from a distance. Yun Zhonghe felt as if his chest had been hit by a hammer. He spat out a mouthful of blood. "You swore on Mount Hua. Otherwise, you would be struck by lightning and die. The reason why I let you go today is because I feel that retribution is just. Don't force me." Yun Zhonghe snorted coldly, but did not dare to refute. A trace of resentment appeared in his eyes. "Prince Song bullied my fourth brother like this. What should we do?" Yi Ernyang laughed delicately. "For so many years, you have stolen a baby every day. When you're tired of it, you kill it and steal another baby. Your sins are even greater than Yun Zhonghe's. I didn't cause you any trouble, but you insisted on standing up for me." Song Qingshu sneered. Yi Ernyang did not mind. She had a fearless look on her face. "Our nickname is the Four Great Evildoers. If we don't do things that you righteous people find shameful, how can we live up to our nickname?" Song Qingshu felt very strange when he saw that Yi Ernyang was completely unafraid of him turning hostile. Suddenly, two clangs rang out. Shi Qing and Min Ro, who were not far away, could not hold their swords. The black and white swords fell to the ground. Their bodies were also on the verge of collapsing. On the other side, Miao Renfeng's face also changed. Her whole body trembled. She quickly retreated to a corner of the wall. Only then did she not fall to the ground. However, she could no longer hold her daughter firmly in her arms. "Father, Lanner's whole body is weak. I can't even lift my hands," Miao Rulin said weakly. Her small body leaned against her father's side. Song Qingshu's body swayed. He suddenly felt his whole body's strength disappear. He could not help but turn pale with fright. Grieving wind softening. Group 3372949925. Chapter 357. Song Qingshu was full of regret. Now that his martial arts were high, it was inevitable for him to be arrogant. When he met the 4 evildoers in the 5 poison sect, Dongfang Muxiue was seriously injured. Although she looked strong, she was actually weak. He had also lost his martial arts, so he was very vigilant and could guard against the sorrowful wind paralysis in advance. Now that his martial arts could crush his opponent, Song Qingshu was not as careful as before. He actually forgot that the 4 evildoers still had the unique skill of sorrowful wind paralysis. The sorrowful wind paralysis was a colorless and odorless poisonous gas. It was made from poisonous substances collected from the Great Snow Mountain and the Valley of Happiness in Xixia. Usually, it was kept in a bottle. When it was used, the person's nose would be stuffed with the antidote. When the bottle was opened, the poisonous water would come out like a breeze. No matter how clever one was, he would not be able to detect it. When the eyes stung, the poisonous gas had already rushed to the brain. After being poisoned, tears would fall like rain, which was called sorrow. When the whole body could not move, it was called softness. Without the characteristic of tears, it was even more difficult to guard against. Although the joyful genuine qi that Song Qingshu practiced could make him immune to any aphrodisiac in the world, it could not do anything to other poisons. Although he could use his internal energy to protect his body and force out ordinary poisons, the sorrowful wind paralysis was originally targeted at internal energy masters. Naturally, he could not force it out with his internal energy. I wonder if Zhao Min's fragrant tendon weakening powder has any effect on me. Song Qingshu was still in the mood to think. In the original work, Duan Yu was immune to all poisons because he ate a giant red toad. Zhang Wuji was immune to all poisons because he practiced the 9 yang scripture. But I am in a bad situation because I have no toad to eat and my internal energy immunity is too narrow. Maybe I can even trick the heroine into helping me. Actually, I am not that bad. Duan Yu ate a giant red toad, and his whole body is poisonous. I wonder if he will poison his wife to death when they consummate their marriage. In order to be immune to all poisons, I have to stay away from women for the rest of my life. It is really boring. Although the 9 yang divine art that Zhang Wuji practices can make him immune to poisons, it doesn't have a pleasant cultivation process like the delightful Zen art. One should not be too greedy. Duan Yanqing couldn't help but be surprised and bewildered when he saw Song Qingshu had a silly smile on his face. Could it be that he wasn't poisoned? If he were to rush forward recklessly, the outcome would be disastrous. Prince Song is really elegant. He is poisoned, but he can still smile and be so open-minded. The 4 fiends all had the same thought. When they saw Song Qingshu standing there without falling, none of them dared to step forward. The grieving wind softener isn't a poison that kills upon contact with blood. It just makes people feel weak all over. The antidote is with you, so why should I put on a look of despair? Song Qingshu said in a clear voice. On one hand, it was to appease Miao Renfeng and Shi Qing. On the other hand, it was to remind Icy Snow, who was in the inner room, to be careful of the colorless and odorless, sorrowful, paralyzing wind, and to seize the antidote from the 4 evildoers. There was no sound coming from the inner room. Song Qingshu heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that Icy Snow understood his intention. When the 4 evildoers heard Song Qingshu's words, they thought that he was going to seize the antidote. They couldn't help but take a step back and looked at him warily. After a long time, when Duan Yanqing saw that Song Qingshu didn't move an inch, he laughed and said, "So, Prince Song is poisoned. Otherwise, with your martial arts, it wouldn't be difficult for you to seize the antidote. Mr. Duan is worthy of being an ambitious and ruthless person. You see the problem so clearly. Song Mao admires you very much." Song Qingshu smiled faintly. When he heard Duan Yanqing admit it, Duan Yanqing became suspicious and didn't dare to step forward. On the other hand, Yunzhong he smiled lecherously and said, "Boss, it's actually very easy to test whether this kid is poisoned or not." Following his gaze, Duan Yanqing saw Min Ro lying on the ground with a terrified expression. Duan Yanqing thought to himself, with Song Qingshu's character, if he isn't poisoned, there's no reason for him to let 4th brother take advantage of this woman and not make a move. It's good to let him try. Anyway, with fourth brother's light and his skill, it's not difficult for him to escape. Even if he dies in Song Qingshu's hands, I won't have to take the risk myself. In fact, Duan Yanqing knew very well that Song Qingshu was most likely poisoned. Otherwise, with his martial arts, he wouldn't have gone through so much trouble. However, he was afraid of Song Qingshu's powerful martial arts. He was worried that Song Qingshu hadn't completely lost his ability to fight and was waiting for him to approach to deal a fatal blow. Therefore, he didn't dare to step forward. Yunzhong he was willing to test Duan Yanqing, which was exactly what Duan Yanqing wanted. Seeing Duan Yanqing nod slightly, Yunzhong he held the silver crane claw in his arms and rubbed his chin as he leaned toward Minro. "Little girl, it seems that you still can't escape from me today. Don't worry, I'll take good care of you later." "Shameless man, how dare you?" Shi Qing glared at him. He had always been a righteous man. Now that he was poisoned, he had some power. Yunzhong he was so frightened that he stopped in his tracks. But he quickly reacted and couldn't help but fly into a rage. "Why wouldn't I dare? I've played with many women in my life, but it's the first time I've played with her in front of her husband. TSK, I can't take it anymore. I'm excited just thinking about it. Hero Shi, look at how serious you are. You must be extremely boring in bed. Today, I'll let you broaden your horizons. Take a look at how I, the old crane, can make your wife so happy." Seeing him approaching, Minro's body trembled. She looked at her husband in despair. Senior brother. Shi Qing's teeth were about to shatter. He didn't know where he got the strength, but he suddenly jumped up and slapped Yunzhong he's head. However, he had used up all his strength to stand up. His palm was weak and didn't pose any threat. Yunzhong he kicked him back. Seeing Shi Qing lying on the ground and vomiting blood, he said with hatred, "That kick just now has already sent you to hell." He was also very curious. He didn't know how Minro's body would react with her husband watching. "Father, that goatee is a big bad guy. Hurry up and save that beautiful Annie." Miao Rulin didn't know that her father was also poisoned. Seeing Yunzhong he's actions, she couldn't help but feel indignant. Miao Renfeng's face was full of anger. "Yunzhong he, the black and white dual swords are from the Shang Qing Temple," she snorted. "They have many highly skilled fighters, and they are closely related to the Wu Dang Pai. If you offend Madame Shi today, I'm afraid the Wu Dang Pai and Shang Qing Temple will hunt you down to the end of the earth." We, the four great evildoers of Shang Qing Temple, are not afraid. As for the Wu-Tang clan, that old bastard Zhang Sanfeng is indeed amazing, but your father is far away in the Western Xia. I don't think he could do anything about it, haha. Yunzhong he laughed arrogantly. Master Miao should be more worried. The black and white dual swords have the backing of the Wudong sect. You're all alone. Who would avenge you? I, Old Crane, will definitely not let go of such a beauty like your daughter. Hey, Old Four, you won't even let go of such a young girl. Are you even human? The South Sea crocodile god was suddenly upset. Duan Yanqing raised his walking stick and blocked in front of him, but his eyes were fixed on how Song Qingshu would deal with it. Group 33729492 You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.